live. If this is your first time here, my name is Barbara. This is Barbara Talks, my YouTube channel. I'm going to be answering astrology questions today, metaphysical questions, any sort of questions you guys might have about your natal charts. If you guys would like your own natal chart reading, synastry reading, progressed natal chart reading, the information for all of that is going to be in the description box below. You guys can select which reading you guys would like. An email window should pop up, and you guys can send me an email and we'll go from there. I'm also live on TikTok today, so if you guys see me looking over here, I'm looking at the TikTok chat. And then when I come back here, I'm looking at you guys over here on YouTube. So let's give some people some time to come in. Hey everyone, hey Concerned, how are you doing? I'm live in 2 places. Hey Mary, how are you guys doing? So when you guys see me looking over here, I'm looking at TikTok, and if I'm looking over here, I'm looking at YouTube. So feel free to ask any astrology questions. Today we're just doing the astrology live. So just questions and answers today. You said on Saturday morning you woke up and you realized you had yet another mall dream. Hey Sue, how are you doing? I'm doing well. I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. Hey Huncho, how are you doing? Hey Stella, you asked for compatibility, so the Aries guy and you're a Cancer. Girl, and then you said moon. So your moon sign is in Cancer. For Stella, honestly, I'd have to look at the synastry between the two of you guys to see, because honestly, with just that information, it's not really going to tell us a lot. That is a squaring aspect though, so, but let me know, what is his moon sign if you're a Cancer moon? How are you guys doing? Hey Gabriel, I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. And today I'm live also on TikTok and on YouTube. If you guys are new on my TikTok, check out my YouTube. It's called Barbara Talks. So when you guys see me going over here, I'm looking at TikTok. And then when I come back here, I'm looking at YouTube. What's new, you guys? What's the 411? You said, who's trying to drain your energy? I don't do any sort of predictive reading, so it's hard to say who it is. You said you're a Cancer moon. Oh, he's an Aries moon. Okay, well, that's going to be a squaring aspect. I'm curious to know, because it is synastry. In terms of synastry, you want to look at a lot of different things in a natal chart. You know what I mean? So that's squaring, like the moons are squaring. So you guys might not fully get along because he's Aries and you're Cancer. So like you're more in tune with your emotions, especially as an Aries. That's not the most emotional sign. So I'm curious to know, are there any other aspects taking place in your natal chart that could potentially balance that out? Do you know what I mean? Oh no, I always had TikTok. I was on YouTube first, and then I went on TikTok, and then I was on TikTok mainly, especially for the lives, and then I started doing YouTube lives. So then I was like, let me just do both at the same time. So I'm on both. I'm also on Instagram, you guys, but my Instagram is just kind of like personal photos. Hey Claris, hey T, how are you doing? I'm glad that you're fine. You said thoughts of a male Cancer sun, moon, and rising all in Cancer. You're an Aquarius sun, Sagittarius rising, Virgo moon. He's all in Cancer. That's going to be really interesting. Do you have any Cancer placements, Mary? Can you also tell me what house is Cancer occupying for you? You said he's really not for you. Yeah, I feel like you would trigger him a lot, honestly. Because like you have Aquarius sun and Sag rising, like you're looking for freedom. Do you know what I mean? Those are like very freedom seeking energies. And then he's Cancer, you know? So Cancer is like very homey. Hey you guys over on TikTok. If you guys are new here, check out my YouTube channel. If you guys have any questions about astrology, metaphysics, your own natal charts, feel free to comment below. Oh, oh my gosh, Concern, you're so funny. No, yeah, I just wanted to see what this experience would be like. Thank you so much for the likes, you guys. Thank you for the likes, you guys. What should we talk about today? What kinds of things do you guys want to know about in your natal charts? You said he's a Virgo sun, Capricorn, and you're a Capricorn sun. Okay, that could work. That's a trine. And then you said he's a Libra rising, you're a Scorpio rising, and you're the Cancer moon and he's an Aries moon. Well, your moon would technically fall into his 7th house, Stella. So, I mean, it's nice to have 7th house placements when it comes to like 7th house synastry when it comes to a relationship. I'm just thinking like, tell me also what's going on with the Mars signs and the Venus signs. Hey you guys, welcome to the chat. What should we talk about today? I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal charts. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. Also concerned, let me know about your mall dream. So did you look up Mall World on Reddit? Let me know. You said thoughts on 8th house Chiron opposing 2nd house Jupiter in a natal chart. You have 8th house Chiron. Okay, so that's a wound around money, and especially because it's also in the 8th house and the 2nd house. So there's a wound going on here around money, Gabriel. They're basically meant to master in this lifetime. It could also be around like spirituality as well, and like a wound with like gurus or something. Like there could be a theme here of like giving your power away to like spiritual gurus and like things like that. So yeah, concern, tell us about your dreams. Yeah, literally, the astral world has been wild. T, if you're new here, maybe you weren't here in the previous chats, like there's this place called Mall World that a lot of people go to, okay, when they are dreaming. So look it up on Reddit. There's like a whole community. You said advice on fear with going down your spiritual path. I find that a lot of that is connected to avoidance, in my own opinion, with going down your spiritual path. Like, here's the thing, you know, I find that most people, like what happens down here on this airplane is people procrastinate. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, Mall World is like a dream community. Like I'm not part of that community because I've never had these dreams, but I heard about them on here, actually on TikTok. And then it's like all these people who like dream of going to the same place. It's really cool. So check it out on Reddit, you guys, if it's your first time hearing about this. Hey, SG, how are you doing? What's new? Yes, I remember you're the Scorpio Sagittarius, but I'm also curious, like, what do you mean by Scorpio Sagittarius? Like, when are you born? Is it the day that you're born? Like, are you a cusp? Is that what you're referring to? Or do you have Scorpio and Sagittarius in your natal chart? Okay, so back to the fear going down on your spiritual path. Yeah, so I find that a lot of the time people go into an avoidance, if that makes sense, when it comes to their spiritual path. And I feel like that's also part of like the whole reincarnation loop because you're not fully living in your truth. I hope that that makes sense. Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Check out my YouTube channel, you guys. It's called Barbara Talks. By the way, for all the people that are joining, I'm live on YouTube and on TikTok at the same time. So that's why I'm like looking over here, looking over there, giving everyone some love, you know? Okay, concerned. See, you said until you guys mentioned it a few broadcasts ago. I love that you call it broadcasts. I'm so here for that. And then you said you didn't realize that you had mall dreams. Yeah, so it's this place called Mall World. It's like so interesting because, okay, so if you guys are new here, I told this story like way back. So I had discovered Mall World and I like kind of went down the rabbit hole, like reading about it. And it was really interesting because like, it's like a whole community. Like some people have been having these dreams since like the 90s. And I was like so fascinated. And I was just like reading about it. Like I've never had those dreams, but I just found it really interesting that people like we're kind of having the same dreams, going to the same places. Like it's really interesting. So then they kind of call it Mall World. And then there's like, one of you guys said it's kind of like back rooms, which is so interesting also. So yeah, they kind of all go to the same place. They like congregate there, which is so fascinating. And then also I found out about that. And then one of my friends, it was just such an interesting thing because one of my friends was saying about a recurring dream that my friend was having. And then I brought up Mall World. And then I told my friend about Mall World. And then my friend went to go look on Reddit, like the pictures, because people like painted or like drew pictures. I don't know how they did it, but like maybe it was, you know, like the digital stuff that people do these days. Anyway, so then my friend saw some of the pictures. My friend was like, oh my gosh, like this is where I've been going to. So my friend actually have been going to Mall World as well. And now one of you guys are saying that you've been going to Mall World as well, which is so fascinating. Stella, yeah, you said something that I said that really resonated. 12 house placements always feel like they need to be guided exactly, especially if you have it in the personal placements. Like you're kind of used to just like having so much going on that like it's almost like a burden. Do you know what I mean? Because like you're picking up on so much that it's kind of like you almost want someone to like relieve that for you, kind of like, you know, pull you in and like kind of harness all of that energy. Do you know what I mean? So it's like if you don't do that for yourself, somebody else will do it for you. Do you know what I mean? So that's like why you always want to do that for yourself. I hope that that makes sense. Otherwise, like people kind of see that within you and then they kind of take advantage. Do you know what I mean? And it's like they're now using you as a battery pack for like whatever their dreams, goals, and desires are, which is just very interesting. Okay, let's see what you guys think in here. Hey, everyone. Yeah, definitely check it out. T, you're born on November 18th. Nice. So technically you would be Scorpio, but maybe you progressed into Sag. Can you tell me what year were you born in? Like, tell me your big three if you're still in the room. I'm just checking what you guys are saying in here. You said the 7th house placement isn't good if you have Venus and Taurus and the 7th and 8th house and Mars and Aries in the 7th house, and your vertex is in Aries in the 7th house. What would you like to know about that? You said you have Mars in Cancer. Oh, that's why you attract like Cancer men, Mary, because you have Mars in Cancer. That makes so much sense. And you said it's in the 7th house. That makes sense why you attract them. Also, when you have Mars in Cancer, sometimes you might attract alcoholics or people who struggle with substances. So just something to keep in mind. You could also struggle with that yourself as well. Like keep that in mind. It's in your chart. So it could be the people you attract or are attracted to or are attracted to you. Okay. Welcome to all the people joining. I'm live on YouTube and on TikTok. I'm live in 2 places. So when I'm looking over here, I'm looking at the TikTok peeps. And then when I'm looking over here, I'm looking at the YouTube peeps, which is you guys. You said one of the few parts that you remembered, a saleswoman came out and suggested that you try on these sunglasses, and they were a very strange purple color but look great on you. Oh, I like that in your mall world dream. So interesting. Like mall world to me, just like based off the pictures that I saw online, kind of reminded me of like Dubai Mall, which was like really interesting. It's interesting to me because like one of my theories with mall world is that like in the nighttime, people are going in the astral and they are basically creating this world. I hope that that makes sense. Like it's kind of like another layer of just like the dimension that we're in, but it's like you're kind of building that. Like it's really interesting to see because it's like things happen in the astral first before they actually happen in the physical. So that's one of my theories with small world. You said, how did I get into teaching / sharing about spiritual topics? Oh, that's a great question. Well, it's been quite the journey. I have a video on my YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, check out my YouTube. It's called Barbara Talks. So I have a video on my YouTube channel called How I Got Into Astrology. So I kind of outlined that in more detail, but like very briefly, I was always into spirituality. Like I was always very much like within this world. And like, I was always very interested in just like the psychic world in general. And I was always very like intuitive and psychic myself. So it was interesting because when I was younger, I would go to a lot of psychics. And then I realized later on in life that I was going to the psychics because in a way I was like training myself or like learning about it through them. Like, I hope that that makes sense. So it's this, and then just like through life, do you know what I mean? Like just like experiences and all these things. And I'm just like metaphysically minded. So I would always think of things. I'd be like, why is it like that? Like that's just how my mind works. Like I would always try to get to the root of the spiritual reason behind something. That's why I talk about a lot of metaphysical things, because it's like, even when I would learn about like different like theologies and philosophies and all these things, like that's kind of how you start putting the pieces together, if that makes sense. Because I would be like, okay, where is this coming from? Why is this a thing? Like, how did they come to that conclusion? Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I got into it. Like it was always there, if that makes sense. And to the teaching part, well, I did a lot of different things. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I did a lot of different entrepreneurial, ventures. I was in the fashion industry. I did event planning. Then I kind of got to yoga. So I got to yoga, like teacher training, like I did the yoga teacher training, and then I opened up my own yoga studio, like mobile yoga studio though. So like I would rent out spaces throughout the city and then I would teach yoga at different places. It was like mobile, like it was literally like my vibe because like I'm moving around, right? I can't commit to one place. And it was interesting because that was my higher self, because that was like pre-CV in 2020 and then like everything shut down. So yeah, so I did that, and then through that, I got an opportunity to work at like a wellness center, and I had done Reiki before. I don't do Reiki anymore, but I had done it before. So that just kind of like opened up, do you know what I mean? And I'm just like go with the flow. So I was like, okay, let me do this too. And then through doing Reiki, we were trying to figure out, because like the person who opened up the Reiki place was one of my friends. And then we were just like talking, and we were like trying to figure out how to bring people in. And then we were like, okay, well, why don't we offer some classes in the evenings? So that's how I started doing like intro to chakras, and people started coming, and I loved doing it. So I would do that. And then I would also do like a class on empaths. Like it was like an hour long. I would do a class on empaths. And then I also did a few different things. Like I used to do full moon circles. I don't do any of like that stuff anymore, but I did back then, like back in the day, but it was all fun. So even through the full moon circles, basically what happened was like I was pulling cards for people, because I also got into tarot. Like I got into the whole world. You know what I mean? I would pull cards for people at the full moon circles. And then I was like, why don't I just put this online? And that's how the YouTube channel was born, actually, because I was also like, okay, let me put like that online, and let me put some things that I'm always talking about online, so I can kind of refer people to my online page instead of talking about the same thing all the time. I hope that that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So that's how the YouTube channel was born. And then I got into astrology, and yeah, so here I am as of right now. You know what I mean? It's a long life, so we'll see. But that's kind of how that sequence of events basically took place in a nutshell, that is. Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Thank you for the positive vibes. I'm sending you guys positive vibes as well. You said life path. Yes, exactly. You got it. You got it. You said you read a lot and you fight for others because you deal with a lot of struggles yourself. That's a Scorpio Sagittarius. It's like you have a lot to clear energetically. It's really interesting to me because people think that Scorpio is the darkest sign, but something that I've been thinking about is that actually Sagittarius is during the darkest time of the year, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. Do you know what I mean? So like Sagittarius being during the darkest time of the year, like they kind of give me more of a darker energy. Like I get that they talk about Sag being like all about optimism and good vibes, but like when they're in the opposite of the energy, they really go into the dark of the energy. And not just that, like the soul of Sagittarius, which is like the 12th house of Sag, is Scorpio. Do you know what I mean? So Sag is the outward expression of Scorpio energy. So I just understand in terms of a lot to clear energetically. Thanks, Stella. Hey, Manning, I'm doing well. How are you guys doing? Thank you guys. I'm glad that you guys are here. Thank you for being part of the live stream. Okay, I'm going up to see what you guys were saying up here. You said Saturn return is hitting and conjunct your natal Saturn. You said Saturn in the 8th house is in Pisces. Any advice? You have Saturn in the 8th house. Okay, well, if you weren't married before, you're not going to go through a divorce, which is nice, okay? Camille. So that's basically that. But other than that, Saturn in the 8th house is just going to be a lot of shadows coming to the surface for you. You guys can look at Saturn return as like you getting on your path, basically, is what that is, okay? With the Saturn return. It's like not just getting on your path, but it's like you are embarking on adulthood. The first Saturn return is like you are starting adulthood, essentially, okay? That's the way that I see it. And then you're always in a Saturn transit though. Do you know what I mean? So like don't freak out over the Saturn return. It's just like because it's the quote unquote Saturn return, you know, that's kind of like the beginning of the adult journey, right? Everything is backwards down here and like inverted. So yeah, you kind of officially, in my own opinion, just based off of what I've learned and what I see, you kind of become an adult after your Saturn return officially, okay? Because also your prefrontal cortex develops around that same time. So it's like anything that's in the way of what your path is in this lifetime is being cleared, basically, okay? During your Saturn return, the first one. The second one is usually when you're kind of, if you do have kids or if you were married, you're kind of going into like the elderly life, okay? That's kind of like the second Saturn return, almost like retirement age or like the kids have left the nest, like that's usually the second Saturn return, okay? And if you live up until the age, I think of like 84, you'll go through 3 Saturn returns. But the thing is you're always in a Saturn cycle, okay? There's always something going on with Saturn. That's why I say Saturn basically controls everyone's life down here. And that's what's annoying to me, at least allegedly in my own opinion, okay? Hey, mermaid girl, how are you doing? Hey, Suze, how are you doing? I'm glad you guys are all in here. What's new? You said you watched that video, so relatable. You feel like many beliefs or ideas about spirituality you've had since being a kid. And then you said now with the team, you find religions or people. Yeah, basically confirming what you believed inside. That's exactly what it is. And that's what spirituality is, right? It's like you experience something. And that's why it's like a faith-based thing. Same thing with like the psychic world. Like you can't really teach people like how to be a psychic. Like you can kind of help them hone their gifts. Do you know what I mean? To get more in tune with them. But it's something that you have to learn within yourself. I hope that that makes sense, okay? With the psychic gifts and abilities. You said Saturn is retrograde in your first house. Saturn retrograde is the absence of a father figure early on in life, mental, emotional, or physical absence, okay? I'm just going back up to see. You said you know you're spiritual, but you want to conquer the 3D. I think that's the whole point, in my own opinion, especially if you're like a 12th house person or you're someone who's a little bit more spiritually inclined. Like you have the tendency to kind of go off into the ethers, to kind of just like dream all the time or like kind of try to escape the material plane. But I personally at least feel like we are down here in the spirit, in the physical reality to master the physical reality. Do you know what I mean? Like the material plane. That's the way that I see it, okay? So it's like you want to take your spiritual knowledge and apply it in the physical reality. Otherwise, like there's no point in knowing all of these things. That's the way that I see it, like all of these like concepts if you can't apply it. Do you know what I mean? Especially when people like talk and teach about manifestation, like it's not as simple as people try to make it out to be. We're kind of gridded down here energetically, in my own opinion, allegedly, and it is Saturn, okay? Basically, that's kind of operating the whole show down here. You said, hi, you're new here. You said you're curious about Venus conjunct Chiron. Okay, Venus conjunct Chiron and Gemini in your natal chart. So you basically have a wound around friends, okay? you have a wound around friendships, and it could also be relationships. It could also be just like anything interpersonal. Do you know what I mean with Chiron conjunct Venus? So for example, it's interesting because you do have it in Gemini. You kind of, because the Venus is there, it's like Venus and Gemini, you would have a lot of options, but it's like at the same time, the Chiron being here, it's like you're being exposed to all these people, but there's a wound there. So for example, the wound could be like an abandonment wound when it comes to your friends, for example, or feeling left out, or people not including you, for example, or through your relationships. But at the same time, your relationships are also healing for you, okay? So that's what Chiron is. It's like you have the wound there, but at the same time, you're healing through it. And then at the same time, you're basically meant to kind of like master it. And then if you so choose to assist other people in the same area is basically what that is. Hey everyone on TikTok, I'm live on YouTube. Check out my YouTube channel called Barbara Talks. I'm answering astrology questions, metaphysical questions, questions about your natal chart. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below or come over on my YouTube channel. You said you had a strange dream, also included a store, clothing. The building was a brick style or brick container style. First floor, you went in and felt very dark and gloom, and all the clothes were very dark / black. You did a loop and then you left right away. That's really interesting. That's really interesting because it's kind of giving the energy of back rooms, Claris, or check out Mall World, okay? Check it out. You're welcome. There's like a whole Reddit thread. And then you said, what happens if some Lilith conjunct your Chiron? So basically you're like healing through like your shadows essentially, okay? Because Lilith can be your shadows, it can be your dark side, it can be your shadow self. It can also be your sexuality as well. So if you have Venus, Lilith, and Chiron all together, you're literally healing through relationships, intimate relationships. Like your shadows are coming up to the surface in your relationships. Like that's what relationships are, essentially, if you think about it, right? Relationships are here to show us our shadow self, okay? Or our unconscious or our suppressed self, essentially. So for you, it's like even more of that, right? Because it's like Chiron and it's Lilith, you know what I mean? So you're like healing through it. Concern, you said you think that a lot of men have their psychic gifts suppressed or repressed by society even more than women. Thoughts? Absolutely they do. I find that here's the thing, it depends, because it depends with the men, because some of them I find if they're in their shadow, they're kind of using their intuition and like a shadowy sense, if that makes sense, like in terms of like, you know how the whole shadow patriarchy, it's not even a real patriarchy in my own opinion. I think it's like shadow masculine down here, like it's not really masculine energy, it's like shadow masculine. So kind of look at it as like a shadow patriarchy. So you know how it's all like hierarchical, trying to get to the top, like dog eat dog, like especially if you start going into like the corporate world, right? So I find that men use their intuition in a shadow sense, if that makes sense, to like manipulate people, to like read people, to like extract out of people. Do you know what I mean? Like, because they're in their lower chakras, a lot of them. But this could be anybody, but I find more so with the masculine energy because it's suppressed, you know, that energy still has to come out. Do you know what I mean? Like the energy still has to come out somehow. So usually because it's suppressed within, it usually goes into the shadow, I find. So that's kind of how they apply it, I find. And sometimes also like if they are cishet men, in my own opinion, I find that they use it to manipulate women or like pry on women, like these types of things. Do you know what I mean? So they're still using their intuition. It's just kind of like in a shadow sense. That's the way that I see it. Now, obviously you also have like the more advanced souls who have transcended this and cleared it, and they're going into like the more heart-centered aspect of this, right? But yes, it is suppressed within men, and men can be very psychic. They can be very intuitive is basically what that is. It's just unfortunate because they don't have an outlet for it. So I find that within them, like it kind of gets, the energy kind of gets, how do I explain this? Like here's the thing, when you have an intuitive nudge about something, usually you're looking for confirmation bias to confirm your intuition. Do you know what I mean? So with men, sometimes it depends what's going on with their attachment style, because it's like sometimes if they have a nudge about something or like they're intuitively picking up on something and they don't know that that's what's going on, they might go into anxiety, and then they go into anxiety trying to kind of like confirm that, but they might do like shadowy things or like shadowy behaviors. Like that's like the shadow feminine energy. Do you know what I mean? Like kind of like trying to get information in a sneaky way, for example, like these types of things. So it depends, right? Everyone's like at a different point in their journey, but that's kind of how it manifests within them, okay? But I think everyone has intuition, and I think everybody is psychic in one way, shape, or form. And I think it depends how developed, okay? How developed your psychic gifts and abilities are, or not just this, like how developed are you as a soul to like want to develop that? I hope that that makes sense. You know what I mean? So that's basically what's going on with that. But you have a lot, like you have a lot of psychic men. And like, this is what I mean, because it's like all of these things are energies within us. Do you know what I mean? It's just like the psychic gifts and abilities are your feminine energy within. And it's just unfortunate because men suppress that within them. And not just that, like a lot of men in like the current society that we're living in, what's unfortunate for them is like by them suppressing their emotions and feelings, like they get actually stuck in their lower chakras. Do you know what I mean? And then it also creates this codependency energy, and it also creates kind of like this parasitic energy because like they don't know how to go into their higher chakras, for example, into their heart space and above to like create and manifest for themselves. Do you know what I mean? So then at that point in time, they're like latching onto, let's say, women if they are cis-het men, or anybody who is more in their feminine energy. Like let's say it could be just like someone who's operating out of their feminine energy overall, and like in that case it's like they're kind of like siphoning the energy off of that person, but it's like that's all due to the like socialization and the conditioning of them not being in tune with their feelings, essentially, right? Because your intuition is connected to your feelings and your intuition is connected to your emotions, and it's like we all have the energies within us. Do you know what I mean? So it's like when the energy gets suppressed, you're literally cutting yourself off from source, if you think about it, right? From God, your intuition, all these things. And like I literally have a video on my YouTube channel called your feelings or your emotions, it's one of the two, is connected to God, source / the creator. Okay, it's going to be under my metaphysical playlist if you guys are interested in learning more about that. That's basically for everybody. Okay, so it could be everybody. It just so happens that the current world that we're living in with men, again, you know, they don't really have an outlet for this. It's not something that they get in tune with. It's not something that is open for them. Do you know what I mean? And also like within the male culture in general, it's all about logic. You know what I mean? It's all about like intellect also. So they kind of get stuck in the intellect. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Versus getting in tune with the feeling. And then your feeling is actually like what's guiding you. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're intuitive, but it depends. Like some people evolve this and then you have different like manifestations of it. You know what I mean? Like people who use their intuition in terms of, let's say, predicting the stock market or predicting anything financial. Do you know what I mean? Like they're kind of going with the feeling aspect of things. So it's this. You said, what do I think is going on with all the political chaos in the States? You said, are we in the middle of a cycle? They're always trying to create chaos. They're trying to push people, allegedly, in my opinion, to the edge. Okay, and that's kind of what's going on in the world. It's kind of like the way that I see it psychically is like, it's like a boiling pot. Do you know what I mean? That's why you have to create internal stability, because they're going to keep pushing people, because it's like when you kind of push people to the edge to like the max, and they have a lot of unresolved things, okay? Well, at that point in time, you know, then people just explode. You know what I mean? And then it's going to turn into aggression, and it's going to turn into violence, and it's going to turn into anger. So this is why people really have to resolve these things within, because it's like externally, you can't depend on the external world, not anymore at least, right? They're literally trying to push people like as far as they can. And unfortunately, again, connecting this back to the intuition and the emotions and all these things, most people haven't even, you know, like, what's the word? Like gone into that world, you know what I mean? To even get in tune with their feelings and their emotions. And like, there's so much unprocessed stuff that it's like, it gets projected outward, okay? When like the world is unstable, this like instability energy. So that's kind of what's being done, allegedly, in my own opinion, okay? That's what they're trying to do out here. So you guys have to figure out how you can basically create inner stability, okay? And you can only create inner stability by knowing yourself and getting in tune with your own self and healing and, you know, learning about your triggers and your wounds and, again, your positive side, your strengths, like all the things. Do you know what I mean? I'm just going back up. You said you're Scorpio sun. Oh, you're born in 2001. Nice. Your Scorpio sun, Capricorn moon, Gemini rising. Oh, yes, you had all the Capricorn energy. You probably have like a good business mind with all of that taking place in there. You said you write a lot and fight for others because you've had to deal with a lot of struggles yourself. Good for you. See, writing is a good outlet, okay? Writing is a very good outlet. If you have a lot going on and you feel like you can't talk to anybody, writing is a good outlet, because then you can kind of literally just get it out of your system so you can get out of your head, essentially, okay? You said everything happens for a reason, but we got to watch out for tricks. Literally, it's this. That's why it's called a matrix, okay? Because it's filled with tricks, okay? I'm doing well. How are you guys doing? Hey everyone. Over on TikTok, I'm actually live on YouTube as well. So if you guys aren't subscribed to my YouTube channel, check out my YouTube channel. And to the YouTube people who are just joining, I'm over on TikTok as well. Like both streams are going on at the same time. Definitely check out my YouTube channel, you guys. It's called Barbara Talks. Make sure you guys subscribe. Also, if you guys have any questions about astrology, natal charts, and metaphysics, feel free to comment below, or you can come over on YouTube and comment there as well. It's up to you guys where you guys want to go. You said, when does Saturn return until? Saturn return is usually between the age of 27 to 30 or 28 to 31, depending on your Saturn placement. Hey, Andrea, you said, can I help you understand your T-square? You said Leo moon, 12th house, Pluto, Scorpio, 3rd house, Saturn, Aquarius. Oh, that's intense. Leo moon, Pluto, Scorpio, and Saturn, and that's all squaring each other. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so with that whole square, it's interesting because there's like a lot of power in that because it's also Pluto and Saturn and the moon. Do you know what I mean? It's like a lot of, if you're able to resolve your emotions, you can kind of use that energy to literally create. Do you know what I mean? With what's going on in there. But otherwise, the thing is with a square, you guys, it depends which of the energies you go into. Do you know what I mean? Do you go more into the, for example, in this case, you go more into the moon, or do you go more into the Pluto, or do you go more into the Saturn? Do you know what I mean? So it depends which of the energies you're going into more of when you have a square. But it's like you're meant to kind of try to figure out how you can rectify that energy within, essentially, okay? Because it's kind of like you're at a conflict internally. Leo moon, like your moon is squaring the Pluto, and like moon square Pluto also looks for power, by the way, okay? And then the Leo moon wants to be seen, wants to be on a stage, and then you have Pluto square Saturn, like that's literally like a boss. Do you know what I mean? Like that's someone who's trying to be like a CEO, like literally someone who wants to be on a stage. So it's gonna be up to you to kind of harness those energies if you so choose to. Do you know what I mean? To go in that direction. You said you've had rallies today. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen anything about that. You guys are talking about T, the current person over there in the States. I'm trying to speak between the lines here. I mean, let's see what happens, because if you guys watch like the SIMPSONS, like he's not going to be in there for long. So I'm curious to see. You said you're tired of liars. Absolutely. That's a Sagittarius thing. Sagittarius doesn't like liars. You said, do I know if that's true? Not everybody dreams. I think it depends. It depends what's going on, I find, during your waking life. You know what I mean? Like during the day. Like for example, I'm more in my crown chakra, right? Like all day. Okay. So because I'm more in my crown, I find that in the nighttime, most of like I dream, but I just don't remember my dreams. I hope that makes sense. Or like there isn't a lot like of like context. Like sometimes I do remember my dreams, and most of the time I don't, because I'm already in my crown all day, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of depends. Like what are you doing during the day, right? Like if you're not so much in your crown chakra, then you're probably going to dream more. Or another thing with dreams I've noticed is if you drink too much coffee and you're not going into a deep sleep, that's also going to affect your dreams as well. So I'm just checking to see what's going on over here on TikTok. You said, what are my thoughts on Leo, Sun, Mercury in a Virgo house? Leo, Sun, Mercury in a Virgo house. That's nice. Like you can perfect a craft. Do you know what I mean with that? Like for example, when you have Leo, it's something like it's an energy that wants to be seen. It's an energy that wants to be on a stage. It's an energy that wants to be recognized, essentially, right? With Leo, and then you have Virgo in there. It's like Virgo's not going to perfect that craft. You know what I mean? So like, you know, those like actors who like take it really seriously and then they become like method actors, for example. Like that's kind of how the energy can manifest, for example, okay? You said you have the second house, Venus in Scorpio. Can I explain if that's good or bad? You've dealt with nonsense. Here's the thing. I don't think anything is good or bad. The energy is the energy. Do you know what I mean? So it's like there. So it's just kind of like, how can you take advantage of the energy now? With Venus in Scorpio, it is intense because of the fact that basically like you can attract a lot of shady people to you. Like you can be shady, for example, in relationships, or you can attract shady people to you. I hope that makes sense, okay, when you have Venus in Scorpio. So it's like hidden relationships, you know what I mean? So you can attract people sometimes when you have Venus in Scorpio. You can attract people who are taken or in marriages or have a partner. Do you know what I mean? Like you can attract people like that to you just because of the energy in your chart, okay? With the Venus in Scorpio, but you also have Venus in the second house. So that's like money energy. Like you're basically meant to master money with that energy in there. But also Scorpio can sometimes go into like trying to get rich quick, for example, okay? So that's the thing. So it depends, like how is the energy being expressed? Also in relationships, you yourself could be possessive. So it's like you could be possessive, you could be jealous, you could be manipulative, you can be controlling, but you can also attract people like that to you. You can attract stalker types of people, like people who are Scorpio-esque, okay, when you have Venus in Scorpio. But it's like at the same time, Scorpio looks for a mind, body, spirit connection. Like they're looking to merge with someone. So it's really interesting. Like I get what you mean by like you've dealt with nonsense, because that's just the nature of the energy to attract chaos. Like because Scorpio, it's ruled by Pluto, yes, but it used to be ruled by Mars. Do you know what I mean? So like when it's in the shadow, it's like chaotic, essentially the energy, you know? So that's that with the Scorpio energy. You said the way that you interpret it, Leo moon is, Leo is the father, the moon is the mother, lacking father figure. Interesting. That's an interesting way to look at it. You said, or emotionally absent. Interesting. You said the second house is the hidden house. Not necessarily. The hidden house is the 12th house and the 8th house. Exactly. For Mars, like ruling Scorpio. I'm just going back over here. If you guys are new here, by the way, check out my YouTube channel. It's called Barbara Talks. You said, is there a transit or something that shows you losing your job? I don't do predictive readings, but it could be something to do maybe with the A house, okay? Like a death or a specific like conjunction taking place maybe between other like things with the transits. Like it could be something like that too that takes place. So hard to say. You said, have I done an astral projection meditation? You've been interesting. Have I been to interesting places or realms? Honestly, you guys, I feel like I'm always in the astral. Like I'm in my crown all day long, literally. Like that's kind of like where I reside. So I focus more so on grounding. I'm always thinking about things, you know what I mean? So I'm always thinking about like why something a certain way. Like recently, okay, let me tell you guys my recent discovery, okay? Recently, I've been thinking about two things, okay? So one of the things that I've been thinking about is like back in the day in certain cultures, they used to have the belief that you basically, okay, so back in the day in certain cultures, like some cultures used to have the belief that, you know, the woman had to get to the heightened point, okay? So C-L-I-M-A-X, okay? So C-L-I-M-A-X, okay? So the woman had to get there in order to have children, okay? So that used to be a belief system back in the day, okay? So I was thinking about that and I was like, it's interesting because metaphysically it makes sense because it's like when you get to that heightened point, okay? I'm calling it heightened point because I'm kind of speaking between the lines here, but I'm sure you guys catch my drift of what I'm saying, okay? So when you get to that heightened point, okay, you know, the belief makes sense because it's like, in a way, you're opening up the portal and the child is coming through, okay? Or the soul is coming through, like the soul is being pulled into this, you know, material plane, right? And then I was thinking in my head and I was like, you know, that makes sense because that's not like a thing anymore. So somewhere along the lines, like this whole concept got hijacked, right? Because the thing is, if you don't get to that heightened point with your partner, usually the way that I see it at least is like your body is rejecting that person, right? Because it's like literally you open the portal up, right? Like when you get to that point and it's like because the portal's open, everything that's chilling around, okay, like, you know, in the ether can attach to you now, right? So if the other person that you're involved with has like a lot of dark energy and you're at that heightened point, okay, well, you're opening yourself up to take and absorb a lot of their stuff. So in a way, I see it actually as protection, right? So I was thinking that to myself, and I was thinking about how like the gap for that between, again, cis-het men and cis-het women is big, right? I'm kind of speaking between the lines here. So I was thinking about that, and I was like, you know, it's so interesting because like that's not like a thing anymore where like, let's say the woman has to get to that heightened point in order to bring the soul through. So I was like, okay, so what happened? Like, how did this get hijacked? Allegedly, my own opinion. So then I was like, okay, that's how the whole like love/romance scam got invented, right? Because it's like then if you kind of hook into the person's heart chakra, you're actually opening them up energetically and hooking into their energy field through the heart chakra. So that's my most recent discovery. That's one thing that I've been thinking about. Now, another thing that I've been thinking about also, and these are just my own opinions. And by the way, you guys, check out my threads, okay? If you guys are new here, check out my threads, okay? It's BARBARAJSC, okay? And I write all these things as soon as I think of it, I write it on there. So that's one thing I was thinking about. Now, the next thing that I was thinking about, I'm going to throw it out there to you guys because this isn't fully formed yet, okay? But I've just been kind of contemplating because I saw a post about there was an artist, okay? And there was an artist and basically this artist went into a certain mental illness, okay? Starting with an S, okay? I'm speaking between the lines, okay? Where, you know, this certain mental illness, when you go into that direction, you start to hear things and see things and so on and so forth, right? So they were showing his art as like, quote unquote, this mental illness like progressed, right? And it started to look very much like psychedelics. Do you know what I mean? Like it started to look like original, and it was like cats that this artist was painting, and I can't remember the name. So if some of you guys know the name, feel free to comment below, okay? So you paint cats and it's like the cats went from like, you know, just like the everyday cat that you see in the physical into something that kind of looks like what people paint when they see like things in like the psychedelic realms or just like things that are more like abstract and geometric and all these things, right? So that's one thing that I was thinking about. And I was like, that's really interesting because it's like, they're kind of saying as he quote unquote went into this illness, it starts to look like something that people talk about when they kind of go through like a psychedelic experience, which I thought was interesting. And then that connected me also to this other person that I saw online. Okay, you know what I'm talking about, good. I saw this other person online who was saying that they were doing a sleep detox. Okay, I don't know if any of you guys saw that. But anyway, so this person was talking about doing a sleep detox. And then later on, they said they were just joking. So I don't know if they're actually doing it or not. But anyways, I was reading the comments and people in the comments were like, oh, like, you know, if you don't sleep, basically like what they were saying was like, if you don't sleep, okay, you basically are going to go into one of these states, okay? And the whole reason this person originally, before they said they weren't doing it anymore, they said they were doing it because of the fact that, you know, apparently if you quote unquote go into this state, I guess it's like similar to doing psychedelics, like you're going kind of into an altered state, right? So anyways, long story short, okay, then I started thinking and I'm like, okay, so this is really interesting to me because people are saying if you don't sleep, right, you're going to go into that state that's connected to like, let's say, psychosis and all these things, right? So I was thinking about that and I was like, well, you know, why do we even need to sleep so much to begin with? Do you know what I mean? There's something that happens with needing to sleep and like kind of holding this is what I mean. It's like not fully formed. So I'm kind of throwing it out there for you guys to think about as well. But there's something that happens with like sleep, and like when you're sleeping, you're kind of like, it's kind of containing you in this like physical realm and in this physical reality. Because again, people when they're not sleeping kind of are having the same visions as that man that I mentioned earlier, and like the artist photos, and it's kind of connected to also like the psychedelics. And obviously I'm not recommending anything, okay? You guys have your own minds, you know what I mean? I'm just saying these are just my thoughts of things that I've stumbled upon in the recent past I've been thinking about, right? Just like ideas and things that I've been thinking about. So that's my most recent thing, okay? That's how my clear cognizance works. So I kind of get stuck on an idea and I start thinking about it, and I'm like, why is it like that? So my current thing now is like connected to sleeping, okay? And with like sleep, how something like to do with sleep and the fact that we need to sleep so much kind of keeps us contained in this physical realm and in this physical reality. That's kind of what I've gotten to, okay? You said this man you're talking to doesn't sleep well, and you said you felt him to be a bit manic. Really interesting. That's what a lot of people were saying for this other person that was like doing that whole thing. They were talking about all these things, okay? But it's just interesting to me because it's like there's something going on with sleep, and like the fact that we sleep, it's like containing us in this physical realm and in this physical reality. I hope that that makes sense. Like the fact that we need to sleep so much, okay? And it's so interesting to see. Anyways, let me see what else are you guys saying in here. Welcome to the TikTok, people. You guys, if you guys are new here, check out my YouTube channel. It's called Barbara Talks. If you guys have any questions about astrology, metaphysics, or natal charts, feel free to comment below, okay? Let's see what else you guys saying in here. One of you guys said you don't remember your dreams at all. I don't really remember them. But the thing is, like, when I do dream something, most of the time I know that it's confirming something for me, like psychically. So, because that's been happening to me since I was a kid, and that's thanks to my grandma, because my grandma would always ask me, yeah, hey Major, feel free. What kind of questions do you have? I love sleeping too, you guys. Like, I love sleeping. I'm there with you guys as well. But yeah, so my grandma used to ask me when I was a kid. My grandma would be like, oh, what did you dream? And that's how we kind of came to the conclusion that I basically had, like, at that period of time, I had, like, I guess it's called precognition, when like your dreams would come true. Esperanza, I was just thinking of you. Hello, how are you doing? I was wondering where you were. What's going on? You said that's so interesting. You have seen that amongst people out there. There's a huge number of people who are experiencing crushing fatigue from sleep difficulties. And then you said something going on in the universe. There's definitely something going on in the universe for sure. You said, do I look at astrological placements on a daily basis and revolve my life? No. And then you said, do I just go with the flow? I go with the flow. I don't look at that stuff because I find it to be restricting. Like, astrology is already restricting as it is, okay? Which is like really annoying, especially when you start to learn more about it. Like, it's already restricting you, you know? So it's like, that's why I don't do transit readings. That's why I don't do predictive readings. I like to believe that there's free will, and I do believe that we're meant to transcend the chart. So it's like when people look at these things, they're kind of feeding into it. Sometimes it's good to know, like it's good to take things with a grain of salt, you know what I mean? Especially with Saturn, right? So like kind of prepare yourself. For example, let's say like a Saturn in the 7th house transit, Saturn in the 8th house transit, like all the Saturn transits, like they can kind of assist you in a way to kind of try to avoid certain things. But at the same time, you know, you don't want to live in a box. You know what I mean? Because it's already very boxy down here. It's very annoying. One of you guys said you've been having sleep difficulties as well. You said that's what happens when the truth becomes apparent. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying in terms of sleep. There's something going on with sleep, okay, in terms of the fact that we sleep. Because I feel like our energy also gets siphoned in the astral realm as well when we're sleeping. Like, that's just my theory. Like, because the thing is, if you think about it, you're still experiencing sometimes like emotions in the astral, or like an intense dream, or you get mad. Like, okay, with dreams, okay, I have a few different theories, okay, because dreams can be a few different things. Sometimes in the dream space, it could be predictive, like I mentioned. So it could be like precognition, where it's showing you something. Sometimes it can be an answer, right? So sometimes if you guys want to get an answer for something, you can ask yourself in your mind, okay, like show me in my dreams or whatever, okay? So it's this. So that's one of the things. Now, another thing with the dreams, from my own opinion, is like dreams can have symbolism. So yes, they can tell you your subconscious, they can tell you your unconscious, like absolutely, like that's still there, okay? But it's like, a lot of the time, I feel like people are resolving things in the astral plane. I hope that makes sense, okay? With other people as well. So it depends. And then you have people who, like we talked about, people who have like the mall world dreams. So with those, I feel like those people are building, like they're going off somewhere else. Like you're either like in a different community, like, or part of your consciousness is living there, or you're building another world. Like there's something going on with that, okay? If you guys are new here, check out Mall World on Reddit. It's really interesting. Maybe you'll see that you've had dreams of it. Hey, as before, I don't look at those. Okay, Major, you said you have Sun in Sagittarius. Hey, and you remember me saying 28 degrees is Cancer. You're trying to understand it all. Exactly. So part of your ego and your identity, you want to look at the Sun. So here's the thing. There's different types of degree systems. Like I look at the one by Nikola Stojanovic, okay? But I know there's another one out there as well. And then there's other people who look at the numbers in terms of numerology, like they kind of reduce it down to a single digit. So it depends which one you're looking at, okay? So don't hold on to it for dear life. But the one by Nikola Stojanovic, basically the way that he breaks it down, which makes sense to me, is like it's going based off of like the houses. You know what I mean? So for example, Aries is 1, right? Because the first house is Aries, and then it's gonna go around the 12 signs, and then it's gonna go to 13, right? For Aries, and then it's gonna go to, you said you wanna learn this, which thing would you like to learn? I do have a few videos, okay? I do have a few videos on degree theory on here, right? So it makes sense to me because it's like if Aries energy is 1, right? And Taurus is 2, right? The second house and the first house, then like every multiple of that number, okay, is gonna be connected to that energy. Like that's what makes sense to me, and that's what resonates for me, okay? Try to guess. You're asking me, my big 6. Let's see if you can guess. Anyways, so sorry you guys, if you guys are just tuning in, I'm also live on TikTok, okay? So I'm not talking to like a random person over here. I'm also live on TikTok and I'm live on YouTube. If you guys are tuning in over here, check out my YouTube channel. It's called Barbara Talks. I'm live on both places. You said, okay, you're asking how does it feel to be in the astral plane, okay? Basically, the astral plane is anytime you're going out of body. Like I can't explain it any really other way because it's like anytime you're kind of in your imagination, anytime you're thinking, okay? Anytime you're thinking about something, like you're off in the astral plane. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the way that I see it. Like sometimes, for example, the only way that I can explain it is like when I'm thinking about something, for example, and I'm like, you know, why did that happen? Or why did that person do that? You know what I mean? Like if I'm focusing on the energy, right? I'm kind of going out of body and I'm actually remotely viewing, like I'm kind of there. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm in their energy field and I'm kind of seeing it through their lens. Like that's just how it works for me. So that's the astral plane to me. Like anytime you go off into your imagination, you're in the astral, right? Now you have people who like, you know, they kind of go into more extreme experiences, like when you're listening, let's say, to a meditation, or you are, let's say, just like focusing on like a point. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're shifting the way that you're thinking. Do you know what I mean? You're kind of going into a different part of your brain. Like you're kind of exiting basically the physical plane. Like that's the only way that I can explain it, right? So it depends, right? What's going on like in terms of the self too. Because I know some people go off into like the astral in terms of like they're seeing shapes, they're seeing colors, you know? So it's different for different people. Yeah, I try to stay away from that term because of the fact that like I just look at it as psychic. Like you're just literally psychic. Like you're intuitive and you're psychic. Like that's just like what it is. Oh my gosh. You said Gemini moon. Interesting. Scorpio sun and Leo rising. No, I am a Libra sun, Scorpio moon, and a Libra rising, and my sun is in the 12th house. You said, if possible, it would be great to hear my thoughts on these big 2025 transits. I don't do predictive readings. I kind of feel into the energy, so I don't look at things in advance. I happen to find things or like people mention it or like my friends or whatever. So like I do know that we're going through a lot of shifts, especially with the external planets. Okay, so I don't do predictive readings because I find that people kind of cling on to predictions out of fear. Do you know what I mean? Or trying to control the future. No, not that term. I'm talking about like DISS, etc. You can go up in the chat and see. You're welcome. Yeah, so I try to stay away from predictions because like I find that the whole reason people want to know things is because they're trying to control the outcome of the future. So it's coming from like a fear-based place and it's coming from like a controlled place. Do you know what I mean? Like trying to control and like mentally prepare versus like being in your body and going with the flow. Like it takes you out of the present. I hope that makes sense. So I don't do predictions for like, you know what I mean? Like this trans is going to mean this and that trans is going to mean that. Do you know what I mean? No, I'm a Libra rising. It's progressed into Scorpio though. But thank you. Yes. Let's see, what are you guys saying? You said there's a lot of fear about them and hype too. I'm excited. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm Pluto dominant and I'm Scorpio dominant and also have a lot of Uranus aspects. So I'm just like, let's bring this whole thing down, allegedly in my own opinion, and just start from scratch. Like, I'm here for the change. So in my own opinion, with everything that's coming up is like, there's going to be a lot of change, but the thing is, for the change to come through, there's going to be a lot of destruction. Okay. Most people can't handle the destruction. That's why they go into fear, because a lot of their identity is connected to external things. Okay. So you don't want to connect your identity to external things, basically. Okay. One of you guys asked me if I read the Bible. I've read all of the theological texts, okay, that I could get my hands on, but I read the original, like the origins of them all, if that makes sense, like the spiritual roots, okay, not the shadow masculine, like patriarchal, like the shadow patriarchal, like version of it, what it is today. I tried to get to the root of it all before it kind of got lost in translation. I have a book on here, or I have a video on here called Book Recommendations. If you guys want to learn more, okay, about, you know, certain topics or whatever, like check out that video. It was so interesting because when I made that video like that year, that was like the least viewed video. So I was like, I guess people don't want to read. I don't know. Exactly. Things need to crumble for things to start new. And that's just like for everything. And like, I think because humans are creatures of habit, okay, and comfort, they like try to create comfort in things, right? That's why people even sometimes hold on to a toxic relationship, which is so unfortunate. That's why you need to see the red flags early, because it's like they find comfort in that toxicity, okay? Because it's familiar, because it's like, you know, also after a certain period of time happens, okay, it's like people get invested, and it's like, if that thing isn't there, it's like they feel this like unstable energy like within, but it's like you have to go through that period of time of the instability internally to break out of that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like what happens to people is like they leave something, let's say it's toxic or whatever it is, and this is why people go back a lot of the time. And anything that's toxic, it could be a job, it could be anything, it could be a pattern, it could be a thought process, whatever, okay? So it's like it creates some sort of comfort, and that's what addictions are, in my own opinion as well, okay? Allegedly, I find that addictions are you creating a habit that's actually bringing in comfort to you, okay? You can't be attached to anything, not in the current times that we're living in, unfortunately, okay? But it's like people find comfort in the things that they're attached to. So when that thing's not there anymore, it's like their whole world crumbles because they've created a lot of their identity on the thing that's external to them, okay? You don't want to have your identity on something that's external to you, okay? You just don't, because then when it's not there anymore, it's like, that's when you go into this instability energy or unstable energy, okay? So that's what happens. So then people, they try to leave, they go into the instability internally, okay? The unstable energies, and then it's like you have to sit in that. Do you know what I mean? You have to sit in that discomfort instead of go back, right? So when you kind of break out of that, you go into the next thing, okay? And you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad, right? Because it's like, you guys, everything, like most fears that humans have are connected to the fear of death, okay? Like everything is connected to the fear of death. Like every fear that you find is usually connected to the fear of death, which is connected to like fearing like you don't exist and like all these things, okay? So that's something that everyone has to try to work through essentially, okay? Let's see what you guys think in here, because you guys were going off. I love it. I love when the chat starts going off. How are you guys doing? OT, okay, if you're in that zone, find something that you love to do, okay? So even though like the world is chaotic, like that's, okay, this is the struggle right now, because it's like everything is on social media, and it's like it's always in everyone's face, and like people get addicted to like the scrolling, you know, pattern with the fingers. If you guys can find something that's gonna help you come out of that, okay? If it's gonna help you come out of that energy of just like being on your own, because the way everything's designed right now is to isolate people to be on their own and to kind of like get zoomed into the phone, right? To kind of find comfort in that. And if you can kind of get out of that and go into the physical, right? And interact with people in the physical and find something that you love to do, it's going to be helpful probably, right? Because then that's gonna shift the vibration for you. It's gonna help you focus on something, and then you'll meet people, you know what I mean? People who are in the same energy as you, people who love to do the same things as you. Maybe you'll find a new passion, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's kind of, I think, the struggle for a lot of people right now. It's like, because again, it's all connected to comfort. Like people kind of get comfortable even in that state, right? So you have to pull yourself out. Like you have to have the awareness to pull yourself out of a specific state, and you have to kind of like literally force yourself, right? Back in the day, like when I started my gym journey, this is like so many years ago, when I started my gym journey, I literally remember to this day, okay? Anytime you're trying to start something, it's always a challenge, because like the dark, it's not just the dark energy, it's like part of the human nature, right? It's comfort, it's all these things, right? It's like there's always a resistance to start that thing, right? And it was so interesting because it's like finally I like pushed myself, okay? I'm like, okay, today I'm gonna start at the gym, okay? This was so many years ago. And I'm like, I remember, because I don't drive, as some of you guys might know. So I'm like waiting at the bus, like little shelter thing for the bus to come, okay? And I'm like sitting there, and I forgot my headphones. And I was thinking in my head, and I'm like, I know if I go now and I get my headphones, okay, and I miss this bus, that I'm not gonna go to the gym, okay? And I'm just like, and you know, do you see how like the world operates? Like it's always these little things, right? So I'm just like, okay, whatever, forget the headphones. Like, I'm just going to go to the gym. And there we go. Okay. So many years later, I'm just like loving the life basically. Okay. The gym also is going to help you guys too. If you guys can go to the gym. Okay. If you guys can exercise, okay, if you guys can find something that you like that's gonna help like your physical body get moving, whether that is, yes, I'm a professional passenger. I am. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me tell you guys another story. Okay, you guys over here on TikTok, go on my YouTube channel. I'm gonna exit the TikTok live now. Okay, go over on my YouTube channel. It's called Barbara Talks. Thank you for joining. Okay, you guys. Thank you for the mini intermission patience. Okay, so you guys, so funny. So, okay, because I don't drive, right? So always I was in situations where I would have my friends or whatever, like they would always drive. So one time, this is a fun story, okay? So fun times with Barbara Talks. So this is when I was still working corporate. So me and my friends wanted to go to Salem, Massachusetts, okay? We wanted to go to Salem for Halloween, okay? And this is like pre-CV and like all these things. Oh, you don't drive either. Hey, no driving club. It's not fear-based. Honestly, it just never aligned. Like I have driven before. I've been in driving school, and like where I live, you have one license where you can drive with another person in the car with you who has like the higher license. Like I have driven in the past, but it's just like it just never ended up aligning. Like I'm not against it. Maybe in the future, like if it aligns, it'll happen. Because it's like the first time I went to go do my driving license, I basically had this like driving instructor who was like, you're not ready. And then like we just had like a beef moment. And I was like, okay. So I didn't end up doing my test. And I'm just like one of those people that's like, when the moment passes, it passes. Like kind of forget about it. I get over it. I started university, all these things. And it kind of worked out when I was in university because I used to drink back then. So it's like when we would go out, when we have fun, like I never had to be the designated driver. So passenger prince, I love that. No, I always keep the drivers entertained, okay, you guys? So that was the first time. And then the second time, I finally got around to it. And I was like, okay, now I'm going to go and I'm going to do like the whole driving thing again. Because that's when I had my mobile yoga studio. It was kind of getting annoying, commuting everywhere and like pulling everything, like all my bags and whatever, okay? Anyways, so I finally was like, okay, I'm finally going to go do it now. And then CV happened. That was 2020. And since then, I'm just kind of like, okay, well, it just like isn't something that's been like at the forefront of my mind. So anyways, going back to the story. So me and my friends, okay, we wanted to go to Salem and I was working corporate. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I was like, okay, I'm going to call in sick because Halloween was on a Wednesday, okay? And then it was like, we wanted to go for like the whole weekend, okay? So like, whatever, I'm just going to call in sick. Anyways, at that job, everybody called in sick all the time. Like, it was so strange because it's like, we had sick days, but then like, it kind of seemed that everyone was sick all the time. So I'm like, okay, if all of you guys are sick all the time, like, whatever, I'm going to start taking advantage of this too. Like, especially in the corporate, like, in like the corporate world, like, forget them, okay? Okay, what's CV? Yeah, 2020, okay? CV, like the what is it? Like the boogie monster, okay? So anyways, basically, this is before all of that, okay? Before all of that. So we're like, okay, let's go to Salem, me and my friends. So then one of the friends was like, okay, we're gonna drive all the way there. And it was gonna be like a 10-hour drive to get there, okay? And we were gonna go overnight, okay? So we were gonna go overnight, and then I say to my other friend, and I'm like, okay, well, it's not fair that the friend is driving, and like, I don't wanna sleep, right? Because it's like, it's not fair, do you know what I mean? So I was like, don't worry, like, I will talk. Let me tell you guys, I talked almost the entire time. I had something to say the entire time. I have stories for days. This is why my channel is called Barbara Talks. I talk about astrology on here, but I can talk about anything, okay? So I pretty much talked the entire time until we all decided to pull over at some point and like, you know, nap. So then we ended up sleeping in the car. It was like a grocery store area. Like it was like somewhere kind of like strange, but whatever, it worked out because I'm here today after all, right? So yes. So that's that story. So I'm always going to keep you entertained, okay? Professional passenger. Okay, so let's go back up here because you guys were saying a lot of interesting things earlier. One of you guys asked me if I can see auras. I can't see them in the physical. I can see them in my mind's eye, if that makes sense. Like I can feel, like I feel into things first, okay? So basically for me, like I'm clairsentient. I would say, okay, I'm clairsentient, I'm clairvoyant, and then I'm claircognizant, okay? So I'm kind of applying like these things like in different ways. Remember how I was telling you guys about my theory? Like of like things that I think about and then I'm thinking about it and I'm like, why is it like that? Like that's claircognizance for me, okay? Usually about like theories and ideas, that's claircognizance. And then, but even with people, like sometimes I'm thinking and I'm like, why do they do that? Do you know what I mean? Or like things like this. So that's claircognizance, but like I'm clairsentient, right? So I'm usually feeling into the energy, if that makes sense. I'm usually feeling into the energy first, and then I kind of see psychically at the same time. Like, it's hard to say. But yeah, in terms of auras, like I can feel the energy from a person that I can kind of psychically see. Like, it's not really a color that I see in my mind's eye. It's more so a feeling. Like, usually when someone's dark, like I kind of see like a cloud around them, anything of this sort. One of you guys are asking the different clairs. Okay. You said you're the worst passenger, you're always falling asleep. So that's the thing too, like for me not to fall asleep, that's why I also kept talking, okay? So I get really hyper in the nighttime, and you know what's so wild? I always had this theory that like in the nighttime, like the moon sign gets activated. I don't know if that's true, but that was just like my own theory, okay? So like I feel like I go really into my Scorpio because I have a Scorpio moon. Like I feel like I go really into my Scorpio moon like in the nighttime. So it's like I was just going off, like, oh my goodness. I just like, because again, I get like really hyper. I'm definitely like a night person, like a night owl for sure. I'm not a morning person at all. And it was so funny because at that same job that I called in sick for 3 days. Oh, by the way, so then I ended up calling in sick for 3 days, which I don't know, like after the whole phobia that everybody has, like since CV, I don't know if that's a thing anymore for people. But it was so interesting because at that same job, I had a coworker. Okay, this is what I mean, because earlier we were talking about intuition, okay? And one of you guys was talking about like men and their psychic gifts and abilities and their intuition. Like this coworker was like very psychically like in tune and like very intuitive, right? So my coworker was like to me once, it was so funny because my coworker was like, don't talk to Barbara Monday morning and don't talk to Barbara before Barbara's had a coffee. And I was dying. I was like, literally, that's so me. Because like I come in back then and I would sit down, I would always have my breakfast because it was like a commute to get there. And then I'll have my breakfast and then I would have my coffee. And then I was like ready for the day, okay? But I needed that time, especially when I work corporate, because it's like I would commute to my job and I wouldn't have like my morning time. I hope that makes sense. So it says, you said, can I tell you about Pluto? Okay, so one of you guys earlier that was talking about the Sag with the Cancer degrees, if you're still in the room, okay? I kind of went off on a different tangent about that because I was talking about the degree theory. But the way you want to look at it is you have the sign, you have the, okay, so you have what the sun is, so the planet, right? And then you have the sign, then you have the house. That all means something separate, okay? And then you have the degrees. So the degrees are kind of like the undertone energy of how that energy is operating. I hope that that makes sense. Hey, Deborah, how are you doing? I have a video on that, you guys. One of you guys asked, this is like the most common question that people talk about. It's like, why can't psychics predict the lottery? First of all, you guys, one of my theories is I think the lottery, in my own opinion, allegedly is a money laundering scam. Hey, Diana. That's just my own opinion, first of all. First and foremost, that's one of my theories, okay? Because that's the first thing that everybody goes to, okay? They're like, okay, well, if you're psychic, give me the lottery numbers. You can use astrology for money. Absolutely, you can, okay? You need people who are a little bit more advanced who are going to be able to configure everything for you to see how you can apply it to make money in your life, okay? So you can use it for that. But in terms of the lottery, so that's one of my theories for the lottery. The other thing is I have a whole video on why psychics can't give you lottery numbers. It's a few things, okay? Sometimes there's certain things that you have to learn for yourself, okay? Because it's like, if you were to win the lottery, you would be cutting kind of like something in terms of like a lesson. And I try to stay away from that term, like lessons down here on this airplane, but it is something like this. Like you might have some sort of like resistance or something within your body that you're meant to learn. So it's like, if you just win it, okay, you're kind of cutting that corner. I hope that makes sense. So it's like, that's one of the reasons. Another thing is like psychics sometimes can't see what you're meant to learn for yourself. So like, for example, let's say it's in a situation where you're meant to learn boundaries. Sometimes you're being energetically blocked. Like the psychic can be energetically blocked from seeing that because you're meant to learn that for yourself. Okay. I hope that makes sense. So it's not so linear. Like they can't tell you everything. Do you know what I mean? They're feeling into the energy, like, and there's different psychics for different things. Okay. And it depends on their like knowledge level. So it depends what they know. It depends like how in tune are they with the metaphysical world. Like it's basically this, okay? Because you have psychics who are like in the everyday is basically what it is, okay? You're saying you're learning and you're learning what you said, and what you're learning is you have to use the same numbers. You got to align with the frequency. Oh yeah, the degrees. Okay, thank you. Back to degrees. So with the Cancer, okay, I'll get to you, Moon, in just a second, your question. But for the other person with the Sagittarius sign and then the Cancer undertone, okay? So your degrees are Cancer. So you have an undertone of Cancerian energy connected to your sun, right? So it's not going to be so cutthroat and intense like a Sag. Do you know what I mean? You take on some Cancerian types of traits, okay? But yes, definitely check out that video. I gave a few different examples as to why they can't just give you the numbers. But in the recent past, because that video was maybe from 2-3 years ago, in the recent past, one of my theories actually is with the lottery, allegedly, my own opinion, let's see. But I'm like, I feel like it could be either like a tax deduction thing or it could be like a money laundering thing. Like there's something else going on there. Like I know this is kind of heading into like a different territory in terms of what like I actually think is happening here, but there's something there. Like there's something else there going on. Mall World, Lydia, it's Mall World, okay? You guys check it out if you guys are just tuning in. So what we were talking about is like in the dream space, like there's this place that a lot of people go to. I don't go there, okay? So I don't go there. I just found out about it because I'm just like curious AF, okay? I was just reading about it and I was just like so fascinated. So yes, it's a place that a lot of people go to and some people have been going there since the 90s. Like it's a whole community, okay? You said the personal development can be a really massive part in the financial, exactly. I'm gonna do another video, you guys, okay? Today I wanted to answer your question, so I didn't do like a theme or a topic for today, but I wanted to do another video where I talk about the money wound, okay? Because the thing is, when it comes to money, you have to look at the generational family as well and like the patterns within the home. Because, okay? Hey, Sun Dog, how are you doing? Because the thing is, certain areas in the world where people live are also energetically gridded, okay, with certain patterns and patterning. This is why manifestation does not apply to everybody. I get so annoyed when like the new age people are like, oh, you can manifest whatever you want. You can't manifest whatever you want. People thinking that they can manifest whatever they want are usually people who have that belief system connected to already coming from maybe a wealthy line, okay, where they have this belief system already, or it's very westernized. Okay, I hope that makes sense, because certain areas in the world, like certain countries, are energetically gridded, okay? They're restricted energetically. So it's not gonna apply in the same way to everybody. So it's like when it comes to money, you have to see, because also, by the way, okay, what happens as well is, okay, also, by the way, another thing that happens when it comes to money as well is like, and I learned this in economics, by the way, like I did my degree in economics. Yeah, literally. You guys are so funny in the chat. So, okay, I did my degree in economics. So it's like in terms of like your socioeconomic status, most people get stuck in there, okay? You have to basically like figure out how do you break out of the socioeconomic status that you were born into, okay? So it's a lot of things. It's socialization, it's psychology, it's all these things. You know what I mean? Oh, thank you, concern. Yeah, I didn't know about that. Let's see. Exactly. And sometimes I love what you guys are saying. You guys are so advanced. This is why you guys are my group. Why you guys are the community, the Astro Talks community, okay? You said it takes a lot of respect from others too to manifest positivity. It's this, because it's like, that's another thing that I learned on my journey. It's like you want to accumulate good karma, because some people are coming into this lifetime, like it's not so linear. Some people are coming into this lifetime with previous lifetimes of shadow behaviors, okay? Exactly, we're all born with a code. Yes, you guys. Okay, Moon, let me go back up and see what you were saying about the degrees. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it. It was something about 4.58. Okay, there you are. You said, can I tell you about Pluto conjunct ascendant is 4.58 degrees. Is that close enough to count? How would it play out? I look up to 10, okay? I literally look up to 10 degrees, okay? So it's this. So I look up to 10. So I know some people look at something different, like maybe less degrees, but I look up to 10. So I consider things, aspects all the way up to 10 degrees. Maybe that's generous, but some people look up to even 15, okay? So I personally look up to 10. I'm not sure when you look on the websites. I don't know what their default is. I feel like it's under maybe 7 degrees, like the default, okay? But yes, that is considered a conjunction, okay? Pluto conjunct the ascendant, and you're basically here to mirror energy to people, okay? When you have Pluto conjunct the ascendant, okay? To kind of mirror the energy back to people, essentially, is really what that is, okay? You said that's one dream that you did have, that you won the lottery, numbers came up in a dream. Did they end up being accurate? You said that was 20 years ago. You said we're all born with previous shadow exactly activities. It's true, because again, that is in, oh, it was in synastry. Okay, so then it's like one of you guys is basically bringing like shadows to the other person's like identity, okay? Anyways, and then you said we wouldn't be reincarnating. Well, it's interesting because you know how even in one religion they say like we're all quote unquote born into sin. Like it just makes sense. You said your nephew is 8. He has Venus, Mars, Neptune, South Node, Chiron, and Pisces in the 7th house, and Moon and Leo in the 12th house. He used to have night terrors and doesn't remember dreams now. Any advice? Oh, he probably has maybe like, how do I explain this? Like it's a form of PTSD. I can't put it into any other words, but it's like, it's almost like he is afraid to go there. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, you can't really do anything for him. Like he's going to have to kind of overcome that for himself. So it's like, he's not kind of going deep into his sleep basically. And I'm not a psychologist or a medical practitioner or anything of that sort. It's just my own opinion. Okay. But yeah, there's something, he has kind of like an association is basically what that is. Let's see. Let me tell you guys, I had that happen once where I like dreamt numbers and nothing came to be. So it depends. Yes, you guys, make sure you like the live. Give me 1 second, you guys. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully it doesn't start lagging again. Remember last week, you guys, how I started lagging when I left and I came back? But you know what's interesting? When I watched the replay, it was working. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. I also had to move my plant because my plant was always over here, but then for whatever reason, the video switches. I think it's the way that I turn my phone, but I have to figure out which side do I turn it on. So now I'm remembering what side I'm turning it on. So when the video uploads, I'm gonna know, is the plant gonna switch sides? It's my Virgo 12th house, you guys. I was just like, oh my gosh, when I saw that happen, but I was like, it's fine. So now I moved it over here. So let's see if it's gonna do the mirror effect. Cause I was looking under the settings, there was nothing under the settings. So I think it's the way that I position my phone, it like flips it. That's just my own opinion. Okay, good. You guys can still hear me. Yay. Yeah, Mary, answer the question. I'm not sure if you were here, but I was asking if you saw the numbers in your dream and then they end up coming true. You said, how are you supposed to navigate the world? You said, you know, no pressure, no big deal. You guys are so funny. Exactly. We're all born with a certain code. That's exactly what's happening down here. That's why the whole question comes up. Like, is there free will? Do you know what I mean? I get so annoyed when I start thinking about it because I just like feel like Saturn just like controls everything down here, in my opinion, allegedly. You said there's people that manifesting comes easier to. It depends. It depends. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, it depends because also different people have different areas of life that kind of happen for them. And you could kind of see this with Jupiter also. Like, for example, like sometimes people have a certain area of life where it's like, it kind of just like mindlessly happened for them because it always worked out for you. It's like, you don't know anything else. Do you know what I mean? This is why like, there's so much to say when it comes to manifesting. It's not as simple as you being like, I'm going to create this thing and I'm going to visualize it. I'm going to put it on my vision board and it's going to come to fruition because it depends on your energetic background and your belief systems and all these things. Because it's like, let's say you were raised in an environment where everything kind of was like given to you, or everything was simple, or everything was easy, or all these things, right? So it's like you already have that belief system that everything's gonna come towards you. Do you know what I mean? So then it does, you know? So there's that part of the story. But then there's also the other part of the story where it's like, it depends. Like, for example, let's say you have Jupiter and Virgo and you're always lucky with jobs. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you're quote unquote lucky because it's like you're kind of blessed in that area that you never had to think about it. So it's like the jobs are always coming towards you. So interesting, T. I had that word pop up in like my mind's eye the other day. I have to look it up because I'm not exactly sure what it means. So yeah, so interesting you're asking me that though. I sometimes feel like I pick up on things in the astral in terms of like what we're going to talk about before the actual live happens. But yeah, I was picking up on that word the other day. Oh, not me. You're talking about somebody else. Anyways, you said, would I mind explaining more? Which part? Let me know. You said, can someone know the date of death by astrology? I think really advanced astrologers can. I do think that really advanced astrologers can. I can't. I'm not there, to be honest with you. I've seen some people pop up on my feeds who think they kind of cracked the code, but I do think that it's like really, really high level advanced astrology. I think, in my own opinion, allegedly, all the people who are in the public eye and who are in all those groups together, I think they know when they're going to cross out, in my own opinion, allegedly, okay? And I think that's why they also control a lot of their quote-unquote deaths, because they catch them, okay? In my own opinion, they catch them on the astral and then they reincarnate them back, okay? So they don't basically have to face the repercussions of their actions, in my own opinion, allegedly, okay? So that's just my own opinion. So I think through astrology, they know like the high level people, like the high level, because here's the thing, we have limited amount of information, okay, out here in these astrology streets, right? And then you also have a lot of different like types of astrology, okay? So it's just like you have to spend a lot of time trying to pick apart what is true, okay, and what resonates. And the only way you'll know is deep down inside. You said you're serious though because it's so much Scorpio in the first house. What's going on, Esperanza? Oh, you said, speaking of, do I watch prime time target? No, I'm not sure what that is, on primary numbers. So interesting. Someone was telling me about that the other day, about the prime numbers. And they were also telling me about basically like someone who went to a numerologer, and because the two people's birthdays added, and again, I could be paraphrasing like about this because I don't know anything about this. This is what someone was telling me, but someone was telling me they went to, I think it was a numerologist or somebody, okay? And that person added the two birthdays together, and because the two birthdays created a prime number, I'm not sure if this is what you're talking about, but this is what someone was telling me literally the other day, because they created a prime number, the two people were like, quote unquote, like not like good together. Like, I don't know, it was so interesting because I was like, I never heard about that divination. Because here's the thing, I'm fascinated with this whole world, you guys. Like, I've been going to psychics since I was like literally 18 years old. But here's the thing, like, it's always been around me because my grandma was super psychic and intuitive. Now she was religious, so she like never actually like exercised it, but she like always picked up on things, right? So in my culture, like for fun, what she used to do is she would like read like the Turkish coffee. So I think she did it just for fun, but she was like always accurate. So that's kind of like what opened me up to the whole psychic world, because I was like, oh my gosh, you can literally like see like in the cup, like everything that I'm thinking about, right? So she's kind of gifted in that area. So it's always been around my life. And then after I turned 18 and kind of I was going like my own way or whatever, I just always have been going to different types of psychics. So I'm always interested in different types of divination methods, okay? So it's this. So I'm always interested in different types of divination methods. So there's so many, like I've done so many. I've done like tea leaf readings, like for other people toward me. So tea leaf readings, I've done obviously like the tarot, all the like the basics. Yes, I've done all the different types of astrology readings that I know thus far. And one of the first people that I've gone to in terms of like the astrology world was actually a numerologer, okay? Who was literally in like a little like village, okay, back in the Balkans. So it's just like, those are like the legit people, like the underground people that you hear like from like word of mouth. Oh my gosh, you guys, there's so much, like there's so much. I could talk about it for days. I'm not sure what that is. Is that a show? The Prime Target show? Let's see. You said you love that theory. It makes so much sense of a lot of things that we see. Which theory? You said, will people dominated with air signs benefit most from the age of Aquarius? I mean, probably if you're a little bit more detached, you will benefit for sure. Okay, placements for career. You can look at for career, you can look at a lot of things. The 10th house is going to give you the vibe of the career, but you can look at everything in your chart. You know what I mean? Like you can look and see, is there a stellium, for example, okay? Is there, you know, a certain pattern, a certain theme, for example, okay? I'm just reading what you guys are saying. You guys are talking in the chat. Yes, Esperanza. I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. It's interesting because it's like, let's see, what are you guys saying in here? Okay, so that's basically this, okay? You said, are water signs supposed to live a spiritual life? I think all lives are spiritual. That's my own opinion. Okay, so that's what we were talking about, career. Okay, I'll get to the rest of you guys in just a second. So career, you can look at your 10th house for the vibe, okay? You can look at the 10th house ruler. You can look at aspects to your midheaven, okay, for career as well. You can also look and see if there a concentration of energies. Let's say you do have a lot of 10th house energy, or do you have a lot of Uranus aspects? Like that's all going to tell you what you can do in terms of your work, okay? The whole area, like Serbia, Bosnia, Croatia, represents. So yes, so all those things can tell you about your career, basically. You said you have a question that's been bugging you so much. Hey, Lily, you said if ascendant signs are so important, then why aren't we born with something that at least tells us what it is as opposed to it coming down to the clock? So interesting. That's such an interesting question. I never thought about that. The first thing that I thought of when I read that was like, that's exactly why it's also really important, because it's like you need to know the exact time, because the way that I see it is like everything down here is trying to siphon energy. This is just my own opinion from existing down here, you guys, okay? I can only speak on my experience, okay? But everything down here is about siphoning energy, taking energy, stealing energy, tricking people, manipulating people, deceiving people into reincarnating again so they can kind of be food sources, okay? And it's always like this whole earth plane is always trying to throw people off their path, okay? Is basically what that is. So it's like the soul comes through with a mission. Okay, so this is my opinion because it's connected to the reincarnation wheel and the whole reincarnation cycle. And I have a video on this if you guys are interested in learning more, because there's so much to say always. There's so much to say always. God bless though. Honestly, God bless it all. But it's called How to Not Reincarnate Again. Again, allegedly my own opinion from my own experience of existing down here. So to me, it's very clear that there is some sort of reincarnation cycle that is taking place, okay? Down here on this earth plane. So it's like the soul comes down here trying to do something, okay? There's some sort of desire line. And then you come down here and you're like, oh, that looks fun. That looks fun. Let me try to do that thing. Let me do that thing. And you kind of get like thrown off your path. Like you kind of get diverted, right? So then when you're crossing out, you still have this desire line of something that you wanted to do, right? And then it's like it accumulates through a lifetime, something that maybe you have wanted to do, or you know, you were disappointed that you didn't get to do, and all these things. So it accumulates, and by living so many lifetimes, you accumulate karma with people. So it's like now, it's like not only do you have the desire lines or the things that you wanted or the things that you thought you wanted, like all these things, you also have all the karma to clear with all the people that you have met, right? So it's like the more that you accumulate, there's a lot of things to clear, essentially, right? It's just intense. So with that being said, going back to your question, just like kind of what came through when I just read that now for the first time, like the first thing that came through was like, I feel like that is also why the ascendant could be super important, because it's like they don't want people to know, essentially. Do you know what I mean? What it is that they're trying to do down here on this earth plane. Like, they want people to be as confused as possible. And it's like, you just want to get in tune with your own intuition, essentially, okay? You said you think this is your last lifetime, you're ready to go home. Yeah, I made that video, how to not reincarnate again, my own theories, okay? You said, do I think reincarnation is always a negative thing? You think life can be super beautiful? It depends on your experience. Do you know what I mean? It depends like where you're at, I think, in your reincarnation journey. Because there's some people out here that are like living their first life and they're just like, wee, do you know what I mean? But then there's people who are like 12 housers who I feel like have accumulated a lot of energy. And it's like, yeah, you said it's so interesting that you refer to it as down here. It's so interesting because I heard another person say that once as well. And I didn't even realize, that, like, I would say that. Do you know what I mean? You said you want to make sure things are healthy if you ever do come back. One of you said down is up. The way that I see it now is like you want to go through the underworld to get out of here is basically what that is. And that's another thing too. There's a lot of like misinformation because here's another thing, you guys, and it's interesting. One of you guys said that you're afraid of death. So I have a video on here also called like the metaphysics of death, or like the metaphysical perspective on death, okay? I'm Pluto dominant, okay? So I talk about all these things. But anyways, so basically, I think a lot of people fear death because they actually fear reincarnating again. Like, that's one of my theories. Like, they fear coming back, or like unconsciously. Like, I feel like because here's the thing, back in the day, a lot of Eastern cultures, and like I have to get my hands on this too, like I have to find these books, okay? Because a lot of Eastern cultures used to actually teach people how to quote unquote cross out properly, okay? And now this knowledge, we don't have it anymore. So you don't actually know what to do when the time comes to crossing out. So I think that's how people kind of get, you know, looped back into coming for another round, essentially, okay? You said you feel like you've been in here before. I have different, like, I kind of go in and out of things. Like, sometimes I feel like we're on an energetic loop where it's like always the same thing that's like playing out. Like, I go in and out. Sometimes I'm like, okay, there have been several previous lifetimes. And I guess this is because time isn't linear and it's kind of like opening and crashing, especially these days. Like, it's always like opening and like closing energetically. It's very like mathematical. I can't explain it any other way, which is so interesting, because that was what I learned in school. You said it's a loop. It is a loop. And that's the way that I see it. It's like, I kind of feel like it's Groundhog Day. Like, that's part of the thing that I feel like. Like, I feel like we're kind of on repeat energetically, and then you leave and then you do it all again. Like, that's one of the feelings sometimes that I have, okay? Sometimes I go into that train of thought. Other times I'm like, okay, well, I do tap into previous lifetimes and past lives and all these things. So like, there's that. But I guess because time isn't linear. What are you guys saying? So here's the thing, you guys. Okay, so this is what you guys have to understand, and this is a little bit more mathematical, okay? And it's so interesting. It's so interesting because my first degree was in math, okay? And I thought that was so random when I did it, but now it just like makes so much sense, okay? Why I had picked that, because that was kind of like my higher self. So you guys have to understand this, okay? Currently, allegedly, from what we know, is like we are in the third dimension, right? So third dimension is basically, the third dimension is space, essentially, right? And then the quote unquote fourth dimension is time, if you're looking at it from a mathematical perspective, right? And then you have people, there was this kid, this kid was definitely like a genius, okay? He wants to like basically explain, and this is going super into the crown. I'm not gonna explain this today because I need like visuals and all these things so you guys can understand. Okay, but it's like he was talking about all of these different dimensions, and maybe if you guys type it into either YouTube or TikTok or wherever, like maybe he'll come up. It's an older video, like it's from a few years ago, but he talked about like the different types of dimensions, because it's like every dimension is within the other one. So yeah, anyways, I'm not gonna go into that too much for you guys, but yeah, so we're in the third dimension here, and if you look at it like in terms of numbers, like 3 is very low, right? 3 energetically is very low. You said, wow, why do Eastern cultures have this knowledge? You wondered. They just knew how to cross out of this earth plane, I think. You said time isn't real. It's a structure that it's real. It's down here. It's in this dimension where they have created it to be real. Because have you guys noticed when you guys are, let's say, waiting for something, it feels like forever. You're like, oh my gosh, when is that thing going to come? But it's like when you're not paying attention to the time, you're kind of like in your own vibe and you're just like going with the flow of the day. The time goes by so fast. So it is. It's a construct of this earth plane because it restricts people, essentially, okay? You said, oh no, thank you guys for being here and for being a part of this channel. Thank you, Moon Blue. Or it's actually Moon Bleu, because it's bleu in French. You said you think deja vu happens when we enter a timeline we've been on before. See, this is the thing with deja vu. That's another thing that I've been trying to figure out, because with deja vu, sometimes I feel like I've dreamt it before. Like that's sometimes how I feel about a deja vu, because I'm like, oh, I feel like I dreamt this before. Like in that moment when it happens, like I feel like it's been a dream. But again, sometimes I'm thinking and I'm like, is it because we're on repeat? Literally, okay? And I'm just like, I kind of just stop there. Like I don't go too far into the crown with that thought, but yeah. You said we're being farmed. Oh my gosh, stop. I love that you guys are aware. That's literally what is going on. Check out my threads. I talk about this all the time. I talk about the energy siphoning down here on this earth plane, okay? It's all energy siphoning down here. It's like people trying, you know exactly what you're talking about, SG. Oh my gosh. Tell me, SG, do you have 12th house in your chart? I don't, okay, Esther, those people, I'm not gonna name their names, but here's the thing, I know of them because a lot of people talk about them. I feel like any of those people that are mainstream, and I hate to say this, okay, I'm not trying to be a hater, but I feel like any people who are super mainstream and who have a lot of followers, a lot of them I think are plants energetically, okay? I think a lot of them are plants to throw people off their path, okay? That's just my own opinion. So it's like, that's why you have to get in tune with your heart space. This is why I talk about it all the time. Exactly. They promoted exactly. Anybody who promoted that is not of the light. They are not of the light. Oh my gosh, stop. I love you guys. I am so happy that you guys are part of this channel. Like, it's literally like your vibe literally attracts your tribe. Like, we're literally all on the same page. Like, oh my gosh, I love it. Because like everything that I think of, you guys think the same thing. Exactly. Energy siphoning is so real. I love it. No, I'm so happy you guys are here. You said they've given so much. Well, that's how they get you. That's how they get you, you guys. They get you with 2 truths and a lie. So basically the whole religion, what's the word? Scam. You can look at it as scam. I'm on threads. Check out my threads, okay? It's called Barbara JSC, okay? It's connected to my Instagram. We are being FARMED. They're stealing our energy. Like, they are siphoning off of us because what they do energetically, allegedly, in my own opinion, I have to say that, okay? It's just Barbara JSC. It's the same thing as on here. It's just my TikTok that's different, but it's the same thing as my Instagram. It's 2 truths and a lie, so they mix it in. So that's how they hook you, okay? That's what a narcissist does. And it's like, it trickles from the top down, okay? A narcissist in your own life, okay, in your everyday life, is mixing in 2 truths with a lie. That's how they hook you. They put you into cognitive dissonance. Do you know what I mean? And then that's how they create a trauma bond. So all these people are kind of like pro-master manipulators to create trauma bonds with people is literally what it is, okay? I think a lot of them they are bots. They're bots and they're pumped. I honestly believe that. And you guys, honestly, I think also, allegedly, my own opinion, I think some people who have really large followings, like just like everyday people, not just spiritual people, but just like everyday people, I think some of those people are not even real. Honestly, that's just my own opinion. I talked about this on my threads. Okay, you heard it from me. This is my own opinion from my mind, allegedly, but I think some of them are actually like either CGI or fake or whatever. Like, they're created artificially. Like, I think some of those people aren't even like actual real people, okay? So you have to get in tune with your heart space so you know who is actually resonating, okay? Oh my gosh, SG, we're literally on the same page. We literally think all the same things. Literally, that's all so point. You said exactly all this stuff they do is to get us to react. That's what I was saying to you guys earlier when you guys asked me about like the political stuff. You said they need a certain level of energy to create. You're speaking all my thoughts. You're literally speaking that's exactly what they do. They need a certain level of energy to create certain things. Exactly. I can't say all the things that you said in there, okay? And now I noticed, have you guys noticed, if you guys watch a live replay, it pops up. It came back. It's not interesting. It just like came back by itself. So I don't know if it's because I turned it horizontally or what, but it's literally this. So basically what they do, and this is what everything is an energy siphoning, RITUAL, allegedly, in my own opinion, okay? Anything that hits the mainstream is them trying to create that outcome, okay? And that's how I knew where the collective consciousness was at back in 2020, okay? Because I literally didn't think that people were gonna feed into all of that whole narrative. Like, I really didn't. But then I was like, oh my gosh. So it's like they put the idea out there, okay? They put the idea out there and they plant the seed and then they kind of see what picks up, right? And that's why now they're losing control. So they're planting a lot of different stories because they want to see like what's going to pick up, okay? SG, tell me, are you a 12th house individual? I'm so curious to know. Exactly. You said they're not real. They're not real. I don't think they're real. They do things because this is what I mean. This is how people get trapped in the reincarnation loop, because it's like the way that I see it, and like the way that I see it is like they put things out there that people think that they want, right? So everybody wants a certain thing. They want to have a certain experience that they've seen, right? That's why you need to get in tune with the soul, because you've seen it. And that's the power of like the visualization. So because you've seen it, you think you want it. So then it turns into like a carrot and a stick in front of you that you're always chasing, but you're not meant to do that thing. It's all a deception. Like, it's all a great deception. Oh, SG, oh my gosh, I thought you know about your astrology. Well, thank you. Welcome to the channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I thought you maybe knew about your natal chart. I was just curious to know in your natal chart if you have certain 12 house placements, okay? You said they suggest this Google, oh, I shouldn't have said that, okay, Gemini thing during, see what they do? Do you see what they do? Exactly, hey. Exactly. You said, but if you become resistant to the mainstream stuff and don't give it, exactly. Life could be, exactly. It can be, you guys, it literally can. But most people, like, they're mind controlled. The best thing that I heard from someone that I loved this so much. They were basically saying how animals, okay, are still in their natural state because they're not mind controlled, okay? Humans are mind controlled is basically what that is, okay? And you're mind controlled, allegedly, in my opinion, through, okay? Through your visualization, like through what you see, okay? So this is why it's important through everything, through what you hear, and like they usually target the younger people because this is my opinion also, okay? They target you before your Saturn return, like they target you energetically before you have your prefrontal cortex developed, okay? Everything is thrown at you. That's when the music is directed toward people that haven't had their prefrontal cortex developed, in my own opinion, okay? Because of the fact that, again, there's something going on like before the Saturn return where they try to hook you energetically to bind you, okay? So they try to get you into, let's say, a financial agreement with someone, or they try to get you into, let's say, a marriage contract, or they try to get you into whatever, okay? Whatever it is. So it's basically this, okay? They try to get you into something, okay, to siphon your energy. They try to get you into some kind of contract, okay, allegedly, in my own opinion, and then they siphon your energy through that particular thing. So it's this. Yeah, I was just curious to know, but SG said that SG doesn't know anything about astrology. So if you don't know, that's fine. You said you love 12 house topics. Yes, you're Cancer, Mercury, and North Node. 12 house, definitely. Even 8 house, I guess this could also fall under there. You said all you know is Cancer, Sun, Gemini, Moon, and Virgo Ascendant. Okay, let's see what else you guys think in here. There's something you guys said way up here. Okay, let me go back up. I'm going way back to the top here. From the top. Yes, make sure you guys hit the like. Okay, my thoughts on remote viewing. Here's the thing. If you guys feel like you're being remotely viewed, you have to think in your mind to block off things, okay? Like literally you have to learn to protect yourself in the astral plane, because people can literally sometimes remote view into you. And I'm not trying to put like fear out there or anything of that sort. I'm not gonna put any fear out there or anything of that sort, but people can kind of remote view into what it is that you're doing. So you kind of have to cloak your energy, okay? It's basically what that is. So you have to figure out how to cloak your energy. So remote viewing is basically like when you go out of body and you look into a situation, okay? You said you remote view. It's like mad rare. Some people have the gift, okay? It's kind of like you leave your body and you go into a situation. Like it's like, I can't explain it any other way. It's like you're there, but you're looking remotely, like into that situation, okay? Oh, Lily, you don't know what your big 3 are? You said, what about if your crush's sun is in your 8th house? Toxic. It depends how evolved they are, sun dog. I always say this for the synastry. It depends how evolved the other person is, because here's the thing with 8th house synastry, okay? If the person is not evolved, they're going to project onto you, is basically what that is. And you guys are also going to notice that the higher up you go in frequency, the more you get people throwing your way to throw you off your path. This is why you have to master your wounds and your soft spots, okay? Because it's like the higher up you go, the closer you're getting, literally, it's like the closer you're getting to the sun, right? To what it is that you're trying to do, you're getting people sent your way to throw you off your path, basically, okay? Oh yes, you were asking the question about your rising sign. So yes, when you have sun in the 8th house, like the relationship could be deep. It could be intimate, but it could also be very aggressive. It could also be very intense. Do you know what I mean? So it depends how evolved is the person. Because here's the thing, okay, this is what you guys need to understand with sexual energy, okay? Well, you guys need to, okay, I'll get to that, Lydia, in just 1 second, the remote viewing. But basically with sexual energy, you guys, it's like when you have sexual attraction to a person, there's basically something taking place where it's like they have something in their energy field that you might not necessarily have in yours, right? So you're kind of going into this phase, into this energy. Hey, DJ, how are you doing? Yeah, I will post this. Don't worry. Hey, DJ, what's going on? So anyways, back to the sexual energy, right? So it's at the base of the spine. So when you have sexual attraction to someone, there's something that's kind of being balanced, okay? There's something in the energy field that you might be missing in yours, or vice versa, right? It's an energy exchange always, okay? So that's basically what's going on with that, okay? So basically when you have the sexual energy, right, you have this attraction moment, and even this, like, you don't have to engage with the person, but even if you do, it's going to be enhanced times 500, okay? So anyways, it's like when the sexual energy is present, okay, it's bringing everything that is at the base of the spine to the surface. That's what the sexual energy is, okay? So anything that is not processed, any sort of shadow behaviors, any sort of whatever, manipulation, control, abandonment issues, okay? That's what the sexual energy is doing. It's bringing it up, right? So that's just when it's present. If you engage with the person, it's like on steroids, okay? If you're actually like involved physically with them, okay? So that being said, when you have a house synastry, okay, it's important to understand, because if the other person is not evolved and they're not developed and all they do is deflect, and if they're more in the ego, you energetically, okay, and you're not doing this on purpose, it's the energy between the two people, you're bringing things up to the surface for them, okay? And then if they don't want to look at what's going on within them, okay, they're going to basically project onto you, okay, is what's going on with this energy. So it's basically this. So that's what the sexual energy is there for. This is why sexual energy is healing energy, okay? Essentially, it's healing energy. So it's like you're meant to heal that, but people don't. So they basically have the moment, they have the opportunity for growth, and either they don't, either it goes into intense energy or it goes flat. The energy, that's the way that I see it, okay? When people are kind of together, I know, I took them off, Lily. I took them off. But basically it's this, okay? So yes, that's what the sexual energy is there for, okay? It's basically healing energy. You're meant to clear this, but most people aren't aware, so all they do is project at each other, and then everyone's triggering each other, and then it turns toxic, essentially. So if you have a house synastry, you have to look at the person, and you have to be like, are they evolved? Are they willing to work on themselves? Are they, you know, even aware? Like, do they even have the awareness? Do you know what I mean? So that's what's going on there. Otherwise, you're just going to be the scapegoat for them. You said a lady that was interested in dating you reminded you so much of a past abuser that you were in a relationship with. She's just been outed for being an abuser. So glad you listened to your intuition. Congratulations. Yay. If you guys listen to your intuition, I'm so glad for you, okay? Because that is going to save you from so many situations, you know? And it's like, that's why people have to be in tune with their bodies. That's what intuition is, okay? If somebody is giving you weird vibes, okay, if you don't feel comfortable, because the body always knows first. It doesn't just have to be a person. It could be a situation. It could be a job opportunity. It could be a friend, whatever, okay? The body is always usually going to know first. So you have to get in tune with the body, because usually the body will reject that situation, person, place, or thing, okay? So it's this. There it is. Okay, so you do have Leo in the 12th house. I knew it. Of course you have 12 house placements, SG. That's why you see everything. You said all the Scorpio and the first with the midheaven in Leo. It's so much. You feel like light hiding is under a bushel. Like it's a must. You don't want to hermit. Exactly. Do you see? Do you see, Suze? Do you see what's, okay, check what Sue said, everybody. This is what I mean. When you are on fire, when you're on point, and this is just in the live, this happens in the day-to-day life. I love how these people come through. See how everyone plays their purpose? Everyone literally plays their purpose, because this person is the perfect example of when something is fire, okay, and you are on point, the matrix or whoever is coming through to throw you off your path, okay? Thank you. Thank you for being the perfect example, okay, for the people. It's literally this. So it's happening now, and it literally happens in your day-to-day life. That's how you guys know that you guys are like in alignment, okay? When you guys are going closer and closer to whatever you're meant to be doing down here, you're gonna have more energy thrown at you, okay? Thrown your way to throw you off your path. It's a spiritual war. It is, and you have to constantly fight it, okay? You have to constantly fight the energy down here is basically what that is. And the higher up you go, okay, in the energies, the more you will have thrown towards you. And this is why you have to quote unquote heal. It's not about healing. It's not about being 100% healed, because you won't be 100% healed ever, okay? It's a matter of knowing the wounds, okay? Knowing the soft spots is basically what that is, okay? Knowing where the matrix or the earth plane or the dark side like targets you energetically, okay? So maybe it's an area where you struggle in boundaries. Maybe you have an abandonment wound. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's scarcity, okay? So you have to know, okay, what is going on internally, because that's where they're going to poke at. I look at it as mosquitoes. To me, it's like energetic mosquitoes. Like they're floating around, and usually you guys will see it happens through people, okay? It happens through people mainly in your day-to-day life, essentially, okay? Because it's the people who are closest to you. If their vessels are open, and this is the thing, it's not to take the responsibility away from those people, but everyone has to focus on closing their energetic vessel, okay? Because if their vessel is open through whether it's substances, through their own triggers, through their own wounding, through their own trauma they haven't processed, if it's open, right, the energy comes through that person, essentially, okay? You said, Lydia, when you were talking about remote viewing. Okay, essentially remote viewing, I can't explain it really because it's like I find that you either do it or you don't, essentially, okay? So it's like, it's kind of when you leave your body, okay? You're going out of body and you're viewing into a situation, essentially, okay? It's like you're there, essentially, okay? 11th house is also pretty psychic as well. Hey, Joseph, how are you doing? I'm well. Everything like these days, because the frequency of the planet is going higher and higher, everything these days essentially is, everything these days is coming out sooner, okay? It's coming out faster, essentially. You said you do it all the time, especially when you're dreaming. Remote viewing, right? You're going out of body, okay? It's like you're in your imagination. I can't explain it any other way. You're there, like you're seeing it, okay? You guys would be surprised. There are psychics who work with like the POLICE. They work with they work everywhere, essentially, right? Because like people, even in certain like areas within the world, okay? Oh my gosh, I love it. Bless you guys. God bless you all. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? You said, remember when you asked me if I also think tropicals are higher selves and the West and sidereal is our higher self? It's interesting you say that because of the fact that, because the way that I see it is, okay, so this is how I see it. Maybe, because I've been thinking about this for a long time, okay? I have been thinking about this for a long time with tropical and sidereal, and my only conclusion so far is if you look in tropical and you look at the sign, okay, the soul of the sign is the preceding sign, which could actually connect back to sidereal, because I've had readings done in both and they resonated with me, okay? So for example, let's say you're a Scorpio, okay? Let's say you're a Scorpio in tropical, the soul of a Scorpio, so the 12th house of Scorpio is actually Libra, okay? So that being said, it's like the soul of a Scorpio is actually Libra, okay? This is important to understand. So same thing, if you look at, let's say, Virgo, okay, preceding Virgo is Leo. So the soul of a Virgo is Leo, okay? That's why within Virgo, there's kind of like this royalty energy taking place. So it's like, that's kind of how I've come to this conclusion so far, because I thought about this for a while, like why do both resonate, right? So it's like, it kind of makes sense with what you're asking in terms of maybe one is the higher self or maybe one is the soul self and one is the outward energy, but that's how I see it these days. I do tropical Placidus, but I still look at the energy as the outward expression of the 12th house of that particular energy. This is regardless of the houses in your chart, regardless of the placements, okay? It's important to understand this. You said remote viewing scares you a little. You'd be scared of getting stuck in too many horror movies. Yeah, horror movies are just like intense. What group, T? Yeah, it is. Exactly. Equivalent to NPCs. There's so many NPCs out there. You said you have no Pisces other than water placements. Let's see, what else are you guys saying in here? Okay, I'm gonna go back to the top to see what I may have missed way back up there. You said, do I believe in the star seeds concept? If so, I don't know, star seeds, like I used to back in the day when I was a little bit more in the fourth dimension, I guess, energetically, but not so much these days with the star seeds, because it's just like, I don't know how to explain it. Like it's hard for me, because now I kind of look at it like this is the, like we're in a specific dimension, and then within the dimension there's like layers. Thanks SG for being here. Thank you for your insight. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day or evening wherever you are. And thank you for being a part of the channel. So anyways, that's basically what that is, okay, with the whole starseed conversation. It's just like, the way that I see it is like, I understand that people want to feel special and they want to feel like they're chosen, but I do think like all people are special. I think it's just like there's humans and I think there's NPCs. That's the way that I see it these days, essentially. Like I was never able to go into that whole conversation. Like That whole, like I was never able to fully feel into it. And if I can't feel into it, then I can't confirm it. Do you know what I mean? So I was never able to fully tap into that. Like, I feel like it's another layer of this earth plane. I hope that makes sense, okay? You said maybe we are to transcend the tropical chart and oh, interesting, and embody the sidereal. Maybe. I think we're just meant to transcend all of it, to be honest. Like, I think it's all like energetic, like control. Like, that's the way that I see it, okay? Because it's like, if you're not doing things that are in alignment with your chart, you might not necessarily be quote unquote succeeding at other things. You know what I mean? So that always brings up the question, like, do we have free will, essentially, okay? Okay, you said you have a question about how to deal with 12th house north node. Okay, so 12th house north node, that means your south node is in the 6th house. So this lifetime for you is a lot of unconscious clearance, okay? Clearing the subconscious, getting in tune with your psychic gifts and abilities in this lifetime, okay? Also, it's like a healer lifetime for you as well. You'll get a little bit more information with the north node. If you look and see what aspects do you have to the north node, okay? That'll give you a little bit more information as well. But it's this, you're coming from a lifetime with the 6th house south node of like very day-to-day, very much like maybe you were just like an everyday person, like maybe working the corporate life, whatever, right? Maybe something like day-to-day. You didn't think too much about anything, okay? In that previous lifetime. Now you're coming through with the 12th house south node, okay? So with the 12th house south node, basically what's taking place here, it's like, it's more spiritual, like it's a more spiritual lifetime for you. It's also probably a lifetime where you're clearing a lot of things energetically with the 12th house south node. Like it's going to be intense, essentially, or sorry, the 12th house north node, okay? It's definitely going to be intense. Like it's an intense lifetime, essentially, okay? With the 12th house north node, but it's like there's a lot of potential there, right? There's a lot of potential for healing and creativity and even psychic gifts and abilities. Like it's all connected, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where you're heading in this lifetime. You said facts. Some people seem like they definitely don't have souls. Yeah, they are empty vessels. A lot of those are narcissistic people as well who are trying to latch onto people who are of the light, okay? You said a former, and then you said U.S. agency reader or reading between the lines, remote viewer said that he acquired exactly the ability through practice and that yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna fully read what you said there, but yeah, you have people who are in they work in certain areas and they are remote viewing, okay? So I don't know what to say. Like, I think everybody can develop their psychic gifts and abilities. Some people might not agree with me. Like some people say that it's just you're born psychic or you're not. But it's just like everyone has intuition, do you know what I mean? So I feel like you could exercise it. Like it's just a different way of thinking. Like you kind of have to shift your frame of mind out of the linear. Like if you're too much in the linear, like it's hard to get in tune with that, if that makes sense. But it's like, I can't explain it any other way. Like literally you're going out of body is essentially what it is, okay? What else are you guys saying in here? You said, how can you activate your Virgo north node without being overly materialistic? I mean, Virgo is also the sign of service, right? Like it's the energy of helping others, being of service, help, healing, and being of service, right? So maybe that's kind of how Virgo balances that, maybe. You said you're not saying you're remote viewing. You feel like you're being watched. Oh, you felt that a lot as like a child. Okay, Lydia. And this is what I was saying to you guys earlier as well, okay? If you feel like someone is hooking into you, here's the thing. How do I say this? You have to try to cloak your energy. Like, okay, what you can do is you can think in your mind, okay? First, you can pray, elevate your vibration, because the thing is, the people who are on the astral, allegedly, in my own opinion, who are able to hook into your energy and see, those individuals, they're at a certain frequency. That's why they're always trying to lower people's frequency down, right? Because they're at a certain frequency, right? So you have to elevate above them. I know that's kind of become like a slogan, but it's not just this. Like, you have to literally elevate your frequency through doing what you love, essentially, okay? Through, you know, being in a higher vibration. So when you elevate, they can't see you. Do you know what I mean? You kind of operate, okay, outside of their line of vision. That's one thing. Another thing you can do is also like think in your mind to cloak your energy, essentially, because you never know who's trying to creep in. It could just be even like your neighbor, you know what I mean? So energetically on the astral, right? Hey, Erica. You said you think that those who say they are chosen could be the result of having favorable birth chart placements. I just think people want to feel special ultimately. Do you know what I mean? But I think everybody is special. Do you know what I mean? Like if you look at it in terms of like people are made uniquely, quote unquote, in God's image, right? So that's just how I see it. So you don't want to go into like, I guess, you don't want to go into the whole spiritual ego, I guess, aspect of it. You know what I mean? Okay, so Joseph, you were asking about how do you get into Aquarius energy? And then you said you have Aquarius Sun and Aquarius Mercury and midheaven. Okay, so you're super ahead of your time. So with Aquarius energy, you're basically here to be like an individual, like basically be your own person with Aquarius energy, okay? Meant to fully express the self, like be your unique self, essentially, okay? With the Aquarius energy. So that's kind of what you're meant to do, okay, in this lifetime. With Aquarius energy, bring through something new, bring through some sort of new idea, some sort of new belief system, okay, with the Aquarius energy. So it's this. You said spiritual warfare, you're Scorpio, so now you have your armor. Exactly. You got to fight in the astral. That's what people don't get. People think that fighting in the physical plane is going to do something. It's not that. It's all happening in the astral planes. And that's why sometimes I think spiritual people might feel drained. And maybe that's also another thing that's happening in the nighttime, allegedly, in my own opinion, when we're going to sleep. Maybe we're going off in our dream state to go fight in the astral. This is what I mean. It's like, what else is going on in there? There's so much more to dreams. Like, there's so many layers to it, okay? Let's see, you said regarding energetic control, this is a perfect example of playing out the energies in our chart. With Aries intercepted in your chart, you have the tendency to want to react aggressively to the tricks. I know, but it's like you have to, how do I explain this? Like the only way, okay, here's the thing. You guys have to look at it as like a narcissist, right? Or just like the whole structure energetically, allegedly, in my opinion, is narcissistic, okay? So it's like it's always looking for a host. It's always looking to feed off of someone energetically. You're welcome, Joseph. Okay, it's always looking to feed off of someone, so you can't allow your energy to be siphoned. That's how you basically beat it, in my own opinion, at this point in time, allegedly, okay? You can't feed into it. So when someone's trying to pull you down or bring you down, you have to not feed into that energy because they're trying to lower your frequency, essentially. Like they're trying to bring you down. When your energy's lowered and like your energy's lowered, you're open, okay? And that's how those mosquito energies come through, essentially, right? So you have to constantly work on raising the vibration. And it's just like, here's the thing. I know in the spiritual community, people talk about it a lot, and it's like, it turns into like a spiritual bypassing thing because it's like people don't fully understand how to elevate their frequency. It's not ignoring things. It's not bypassing, right? It's like being aware of the shadows, okay? But also not feeding into them, if that makes sense, okay? Let me see what you were saying as friends up here. You said, let's recap this close action of the aura, and then you said look down into the dollhouse remote viewing. Can you give me a little bit more information, please? You said, what's my opinion on destiny swapping? You're not convinced that it's really only because authentically someone will always be better and trying. Okay, actually, here's the thing with destiny swapping. I don't think they can fully swap the destiny, but what they can do, and this is just my own opinion, okay? They can't fully swap destinies with you because I don't think people can fully do that, but what they can do is they can come into your life, they can cause chaos, they can siphon your energy, and they can throw you off your path, and they can waste your time, okay? That's another thing down here. They can literally energetically waste your time when you're trying to do something down here, okay? So that's how these people get sent energetically, okay? And then they kind of siphon, they take your personality, right? They drain you. And then it's like you're not who you used to be because you took on their energy. Do you know what I mean? So they can't fully destiny swap in the sense where it's like they're taking your destiny. I don't think so, but they can waste your time. Do you know what I mean? They can drain your energy. They can like cause chaos, make you stagnant, all the things, okay? They can bring through chaos, essentially, is basically what that is. And you guys will see this, the higher up you go in your frequency and the more you become in alignment, especially with your truth, the more they come at you, okay? You said, how do you know your soul purpose on this earth in this lifetime? Okay, Bex, for you to know that, you have to be in alignment with your heart space. And like, I know it sounds corny, but it's like literally like do what your heart is calling you to do, okay? Obviously, as long as it's like benevolent, you know what I mean? If it's calling you to do something like shadowy, like maybe don't go in that area. That's usually something shadowy, right? So you have to get in tune with your heart space is basically what that is. Like the heart always knows. And then it's like, we always know. Do you know what I mean? It's just that we are looking for external confirmation to confirm what we already know deep down inside. So it's like, if something makes you happy, if something makes you excited, if something, you know, you love to do something, like that's usually in alignment with what it is that you're trying to do, okay? I'm loving this conversation today. I left it open. I didn't put a theme today, and I'm loving the direction that I went in, okay? See, that's another example of intuition, okay? Because today I was just like, and this is something that I've learned, like even through myself, I've learned that when I don't feel like doing something, and I don't mean that in like a, oh, I don't want to, it's just like if I'm not feeling into it, right? It's like usually like my intuition kind of like telling me like, okay, that's not like the thing that you're meant to be doing right now. So today I was just kind of like, let me just do general question answer. You said, do I think the empty vessel thing I mentioned before applies to animals? It's a really good question. With animals, I don't know. I don't know if it's because like the frequency of the planet is getting higher. I don't know if it's like we're becoming more psychic and aware, but like to me, sometimes they feel so conscious. Like to me, sometimes they feel so aware. Some of them are so smart if you like actually observe them or you like observe videos of them. for example. So it's this, spontaneity is good sometimes, exactly. You said you're surrounded by a lot of spirit orbs and you feel they drain your energy while you're sleeping. Okay, that was another theme today. I talked about sleeping energy, Erica. If you just joined the chat now, check out earlier when I was talking about sleeping and like the theory that I'm trying to come to conclude with sleep. There's something going on with sleep. Like here is the thing. Okay, here is the thing. I'm going to go through this again, okay? I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it's like, I'm starting to think and I'm wondering, like, while we're sleeping, if the energy is being siphoned off of us, right? Because it's like, where are you actually going in the nighttime in the astral is the question. What's actually happening? Do you know what I mean? And then another thing that I've been thinking about is like, okay, you know, when they say if you don't get enough sleep, you kind of start to go almost into like an altered state. So I'm wondering, like, when people aren't sleeping or they don't get enough sleep, I'm like, are they actually seeing the reality for what it is? Like, that's just like one thing that I've been thinking about recently, like just something to think about, just like a theory. But anyways. You said, do different psychic abilities show up in different astrology placements, or is it just 12th house, 8th house? So interesting. Oh my gosh. I literally made a little mini video about that, Zoe. So I have a few videos on here already in terms of psychic gifts and abilities. So in terms of psychic gifts and abilities, yes, it's mainly the 12th house and the 8th house. I would consider Cancer because it is the moon. Cancer is the moon, okay? So it's like you will still be sensitive, but it is more so clairsentient, okay, with the Cancer energy. And I feel like Cancer takes on a lot of just like everything around them. So it's like they are sensitive energetically, okay? When I say sensitive, I don't mean it like in a bad way at all. I just mean it in the way where it's like they're tapping into energy, okay? But it kind of progresses, right? Because by the time you get to Scorpio, Scorpio's kind of like mediumship abilities, you know what I mean? They're also clairsentient. And then you have the 12th house, which is like literally you see through the whole veil, okay? When you have the 12th house, and you also have the 11th house. The 11th house is like claircognizance is the way that I see it. But also like I see Sag also as like super psychic. Basically anybody from Scorpio onwards. And the way that I see it is like in the northern hemisphere, at least that's when it's the nighttime. So it's like from Scorpio onwards, they're kind of going more into like the quote unquote darkness, right? So they're going more into the just like the unseen. Does that make sense? So it's like from Scorpio onwards, they're all psychic in their own way. It's just like different types of psychic gifts and abilities. Yes. Oh my, exactly. But that's the thing, Esther. The question is, okay, here's the thing, okay, it depends what substances people use, okay, because certain substances have entities attached to them, okay. Have you guys ever heard of like the Hat Man when people take Benadryl? Have you guys ever heard of that? It's another thing that I saw on the Clock app, okay. So sometimes when people, okay, oh my gosh, this is just like, we're going super into the crowd today. So some people talk about this like quote unquote Hat Man, okay, that they see when they take Benadryl, for example. And again, this is alleged just based off of things that I've seen online, right? I can't confirm it because I haven't had that experience. Okay, see? So some people talk about this. So my conclusion, okay, from this is that specific substances have specific entities, okay, attached to them. That's why also the that's why also the PHARMA, and then the rest of the word is like pseuticals. Okay, I'm not gonna spell the whole thing. I hope you guys are following. Those things also energetically open you up. They all have a specific entity attached to them, especially the synthetics, okay? Even that, all of that, Bex, like even like the plant medicines, they're still opening you up. Like it's still opening you up energetically to what's going on like around, like everything has a spirit. Like those ones might be less synthetic, if that makes sense, okay? Like the plants, right? But like still, it still has its own spirit, right? So it's this. You said you feel like Scorpio and Virgo are excellent with factual info and fact keeping. You said that combined with intuition and hones those skills. Well, it is a sextile. Stop, Manning. Stop. Oh my gosh, you guys are so funny. You guys are so funny. Oh my goodness. You've seen the Hat Man too. Okay, I hope I'm like, cancel the energy. I'm not calling this person in. But anyways. I rebuke. You said, you know, the Lilith in, and you said in the 10th house, or the 11th says beware of alcohol, and you said and Chiron in the 7th house says beware of ankle or foot injuries. It's true, you've dealt with these placements. There you go. You said, do psychic abilities emerge when a specific person, yes, goes through something stressful or traumatic in their life? Exactly. So I have a video on that, you guys, on my YouTube channel as well, okay? It's called Getting in Tune with Your Psychic Gifts and Abilities. Hold on. No, it's called, okay, I have that one, that's another one, but I have another one called The Connection Between Trauma, Cognitive Dissonance, Spiritual Awakening, and Your Psychic Gifts and Abilities. So when you go through trauma, you're pushed out of your body, essentially, right? Even if you're in extreme fight or flight, to preserve yourself, right? You leave, okay, the body, and that's how the psychic gifts and abilities come online. So it's this. in a nutshell. Obviously in that video I'll go more in depth, but yes, it's connected to this. So that's why, especially also after 2020, we had mass awakenings, okay? Again, allegedly my own opinion, because the collective went through a collective trauma. And not only this, it's like everyone hooked into almost like the same consciousness because it was collective. I hope that makes sense, okay? Yeah, rebuke the bad energy, don't claim the energy, all the things. You said, you guess reaching the states through meditation is ideal. Exactly. Suze, you are also ahead of your time. You are also ahead of your time. That's ultimately what you want to do, okay? So this is my own opinion on all of this, okay? All substances are pushing you out of body, okay? People are trying to shortcut, trying to get to a state, okay, that you're actually meant to naturally achieve. If you're trying to shortcut to get to that state that you're meant to naturally achieve, you are opening yourself up energetically, okay? That's why sometimes people, when they talk about certain substances, they talk about people going into psychosis. People go into psychosis because they didn't naturally get there, okay? Their body is not like ready to comprehend all of that information. You need to have an integration period. And a lot of time, people go into the spiritual ego, especially in the whole plant medicine community. They're like, oh, how many ceremonies did you do? Do you know what I mean? So with that being said, okay, it's like they're in the spiritual ego and they're not integrating the information, right? So they're just like too far into the crown chakra, okay? It's basically what it is. So it's this. So it's just like you actually want to naturally get there, essentially, is really what it is. Like naturally in your own process and in your own time, because you're like clearing and purging. It's basically what it is. It's something that's meant to be energetically earned. That's why back in the day, spiritual teachers weren't even allowed to teach spirituality until like their 40s, okay? Because they had to go through enough Saturn cycles, okay? They had to go through enough like experiences in their life to achieve a certain state, okay? Naturally through clearing, you have to clear. And this is how people become fragmented, okay? And this is how you have the people who are spiritually bypassing because they haven't integrated their shadow, okay? It's basically what that is. Shadow work is the most important thing you guys could possibly do, okay? Yeah, what did she say, Manning? Check out what Mermaid Girl said. Let us know what she said when you saw her. It's so funny. You said, do I prefer reading my own charts or others in Placidus or whole sign system? I do Placidus, tropical, okay? It resonates most with my chart, and because it resonates with my chart, I do other people's charts in that as well. You said Scorpio stellium in the first house feels like you have to focus on your own freaking transformation back to back to back to back. Exactly. You said it's suffocating a bit, feels narcissistic, but it's not. It's necessary. It's just what you're meant to be doing down here, essentially. It's basically what that is. You're just like constantly evolving. You said grassroots, you call it grassroots spiritual development. Yes, it develops naturally. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And sometimes there's planting seeds. Do you know what I mean? And that's why sometimes you have to speak your truth, because like you plant the seeds and then later on it's going to make sense, okay? To some people if it doesn't make sense to them now, essentially, okay? You said how to do shadow work. And then you said sometimes you just sit with the feeling. I love your questions, as before. You're always coming through with the questions, okay? So basically shadow work is you have to become aware that you have a shadow, okay? That there's something going on here and you have to not feed into it. Like you have to basically rewire yourself and your reaction essentially when that moment comes up and you might go into the shadow behavior. In that moment, you have the opportunity to not act in the shadow behavior. You have to choose the light. That's how you do shadow work essentially, okay? The more you do this, this kind of starts to fall off because you're integrating, okay? You're bringing through more light energy within the self, but you first have to have the awareness that you even do this, okay? Which 90% of the population doesn't, okay? Is basically what that is. So that's how you do it. You have to basically rewire yourself, right? You have to see that moment. You have to see what the shadow is. And that's how you know, like when you have a trigger, it's showing you a shadow aspect, right? It's showing you an unhealed part of the self, okay? So you have a trigger and basically this trigger is showing you, right, what you need to work on. So that's how you can kind of get a little bit more information, okay? You said you feel like you've been speed running life lessons. Yeah, because time is accelerating also, okay? You said music is oddly resonating around your life and you don't like it. You said that's why you tell people to be careful who to listen to. Exactly. You have to. You said Uranus, 12th house, Scorpio ascendant. You said Lilith conjunct Jupiter and Pisces in the 4th house. That's a lot of like generational things, Erica. I feel like you're clearing from the home. You said your left ear started ringing so loud. Confirmation. One of my friends had that. When their ears would start ringing, they would basically like kind of have the confirmation that they're meant to pay attention to that specific thing, okay? You said especially because that word that starts with P literally refers to sorcery or witchcraft. What were we talking about? I can't remember what we were talking about back then. The word that starts with P, it's like, it's literally like, oh my gosh, I just had like a vision of like a wizard trying to enter into like a cabin and like they are knocking on the door and someone like opens the little like window thing, you know, like the little wooden window thing, and they're like, what's the password? The word starts with P. Oh yeah, okay, that's the one. Yes, that one. Okay, let me go back up and see what were you saying up here. I have to find your message again. You said you had to stop smoking WEED because it gave you so much anxiety. And you said as a Pisces 8 house telling you couldn't see things clearly, it fogs you even more. It literally fogs you. It puts you out of body even more. And not only that, you open yourself up energetically, and there's so much going on in the astral that has a dark energies that's like waiting to latch on. This is what I mean. It's just like, it is what it is, you know? So it's this. You guys are so funny. You guys are so, so funny. You said dark stuff was great. Your comment about Scorpio is shadow. A family member shows you that Scorpio wants to be correct and will sting itself rather than be defeated. Yes, Scorpio can be very like self-destructive, okay? When it's in the shadow. Scorpio has a lot that they're meant to basically clear in this lifetime. It's a lot of like, just like darkness, essentially, okay? And usually you start off with the dark and then you go into the light, essentially. I'm just scrolling here to see. I can't find that message, but that's fine. It's all good. Okay, you guys, if you want your own natal chart reading, synastry reading, if you guys want your own progressed natal chart reading, mini natal chart reading, send me an email, okay? It's gonna be in the description box below and we'll go from there. You said jealousy, or if it's an energetic thing without jealousy. Yeah, jealousy is also kind of like the mosquito. You know how I tell you guys? It's like the mosquitoes on the astral that are trying to get at you through other people, essentially, okay? You said you started doing that because you had a bad experience in the astral and it works just thinking about it. Exactly, before going to sleep, like a protection cloak. Exactly, that's what it is. Like just literally thinking in your mind. I'm just going back to like the remote viewing and like protecting your energy in the astral. Just thinking it will help you, okay? Just like thinking like I'm putting an invisibility cloak. Like I do that sometimes when I'm walking through an area, if there's shady people around or if they're just like strange people. It's just like I think in my mind, like I put an invisibility cloak around me, essentially, okay? A protection bubble even, for example. Oh my gosh, you're so funny. Would a cruise help clear the darkness? I love it. Well, maybe being by the water will help you for sure. You said just asking about closing the aura, but more in a heated question is how to shine and ascend while not showing that you're thriving so you're not a target. And then you said Pluto in the first house is, yeah, that's the thing. It's hard to energetically, right? Because energetically, the more you shine, it's like you can't hide the light. Do you know what I mean? It's shining, right? So you'll just have to not absorb. Like it's kind of connected to your solar plexus chakra also is the way that I see it, like developing the confidence, the strength, and the self, essentially, okay? It's basically what that is, okay? You said, would I say that A house people give off Scorpio energy even if they are? Yes, so the A house rules Scorpio, right? So you take on some of those traits as well. Basically the way that it works, you guys, is you have the placement, which is what the energy is, okay? Then you have the sign, which is how the energy is being expressed. And then you have the house, which is where the energy is being expressed, like in what area of your life. So it's not the same thing, okay? Because they have different meanings in your chart, but still, it's like if you have a Scorpio placement, that's just how the energy is being expressed. And then if you have an A house placement, it is in the A house area of your life, okay? So it's like you still take on some of the traits, right? It's not the same, right? Because you still want to see what the sign is in there, but it's like you still have basically shadow work season taking place with the A house energy as well, right? I hope that makes sense. Okay, guys, if you want your readings, okay? So natal chart reading, progressed natal chart reading, synastry reading, the information is going to be in the description box below. I'm going to sign off now. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the conversations. Thank you for your questions, your likes, your shares, your subscribes. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day or evening, wherever you guys are. Bye.